All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you can have your seat. Have a seat. We're going to call to order the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as a successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency Board for May 1st, 2018. And this is our 5:30 presentation period. We have one presentation tonight. It is the proclamation for May is Mental Health Month. And I will be going down here. Carol, if you would join me up front. That's what we pay her the big bucks for.
That's good.
All right. So this is a City of Desert Hot Springs proclamation, whereas a personal mental health is considered to be an integral part of overall health and wellness, and whereas 1 in 5 adults experience a mental health condition in any given year, and 1 in 25 adults lives with mental health such as major depression, bipolar, and schizophrenia. And it's whereas approximately 1/2 of the chronic mental health begins by the age of 14 and 3/4 begins by age 24. And whereas long delays, sometimes decades, often occur between the onset of symptoms and when individuals get help. And whereas early identification and treatment can make a difference in successful management of mental health and long-term recovery. And whereas it is important for everyone to learn the symptoms of mental health or mental illness in order to get help when it is needed and support others in accessing care. And whereas every person and community can make a difference in helping end the silence and stigma that for too long has surrounded mental health and discouraged people from getting help. And whereas public education and civic activities can encourage mental health, promote the wellness and recovery of those with a mental health condition, and help improve the lives of individuals and families affected by mental health. And now, therefore, I, Mayor Scott Mattis, on behalf of the City of Desert Hot Springs City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2018 as Mental Health Month.
Very good.
Get a picture and I'll let you see.
I would like to thank everyone, the mayor and the council and chief of police behind me for giving the proclamation to May as mental health. But actually it's 12 months a year, but we celebrate it once a month. I just want to say that Desert Hot Springs has been known to participate in it. And the biggest goal I personally would like to see that mental health is not a stigma, not something, oh my goodness, I don't want to help. I don't want to know about anything. If we just open the door and help others, maybe we will help that situation with mental health and especially suicide. And a lot of it is, unfortunately, mental health turns into homelessness. And we're trying to stop both. Thank you. I think I've lost my voice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
That's all the presentations we have tonight. We'll recess till 6 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could find your seats, we're going to get started here. All right, we're going to call to order the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as a successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency Board for May 1st, 2018. This is our 6 p.m. regular session here at the Carl May Center. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember McKee.
Present.
Councilmember Parks.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Zavala.
Present.
And Mayor Mattis.
Present. Our invocation tonight will be by Joe McKee.
It's just a thought, not an invocation. And I'm sure the mayor will celebrate the fact that I'm going to actually quote George W. Bush,
Uh-oh.
which is unusual for me. But I think this is apropos to what's going on in our country right now. Too often, we judge other groups by their worst examples, while judging ourselves by our best intentions.
Thank you very much. Tonight we'll have the flag ceremony by Troop 1606. Please rise.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Our next item on the agenda is the city attorney's report on closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We have one reportable item. The city council in closed session voted 4-0-1, one abstention by Councilmember Betts. It was moved by Mr. McKee, seconded by Councilmember Zavala to approve a second extension of a tolling agreement. The parties are the city and the Atkinson Family Revocable Living Trust. To extend the tolling agreement to November 20th of 2018. And in addition, the City Council also voted with the same vote to waive any attorney-client privilege specifically related to this tolling agreement for the purposes of reporting out.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question, City Attorney, on this? Will this be coming back? Now, this will be agendized for a vote in public on this tolling agreement?
The tolling agreement will not be coming back to the agenda, to open session. This is the open portion where we report out. However, should there be any project associated, that project will be moving forward through the regular process.
Okay, but the vote on the tolling agreement only happened in closed session and won't be happening in open session?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Whoever's making the motion, the developer for item 12 has requested that this item be pulled until the next council meeting, which is May 15th.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the agenda as is and take up any requests for continuation at the time that agenda item comes up.
So item 12 is on the consent calendar. That would be taken up now. So the motion is to approve the consent calendar, pulling item number 12 till May 15th.
My motion would be to approve and leave it on the agenda. Not to continue the item. So leave the consent calendar as is.
Okay, there is a motion on the table to leave the consent calendar as is. Is there a second? Second call for a second. Final call. Motion fails. Do I have another motion?
Approve the agenda as is.
With the item being pulled?
Yes.
And then, do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any public comments on any items on the agenda that have not been pulled? I see none. Please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
Move on to public comments. At this time, pursuant to the Brown Act, any persons may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the City Council shall not take action on or discuss matters raised during public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. All comments are to be directed to the City Council and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain personal courteous decorum during public comments. All right. Our first up is Renee Hickey, followed by Mike Bacardi.
Good evening. Council and city staff, my name is Renee Hickey, and I am a resident of Desert Hot Springs. I am also the president of All Desert Aquatics, and for the past 28 years, I have been involved with the Wardman Park Pool. As some of you know, 4 years ago, the pool was going to be decommissioned, and All Desert Aquatics and the community stood tall and were able to turn things around to sustain, maintain, and provide quality swim programs for this community. With the help from Councilman Betts, we raised money from private contributions. Then during the April 17th council meeting, a report was given by a staff member which made the pool look much worse than it actually was. Based on the inspection and report from the Riverside County Environmental Health Department, It was given a fix-it list, which is not uncommon for a pool that has been closed for the winter. There are things to do to prepare it for opening to the public, which we have done every year for the past 28 years. The pool was not red tagged or condemned by the health department. At the end of the report given by Daniel Porras, the council was then asked to vote on whether or not to accept the file and report. Accept and file the report. The council and mayor then unanimously voted to accept and file the report, which then was followed by a request to create an RFP for the Wardman pool. I'm not sure what happened following that meeting, but in less than 1 week, a demolition team came in and completely gutted the filters, pumps, water lines, and heaters, then proceeded to begin to drain the pool. This equipment might have been outdated, but it was still functioning. I believe I am here tonight to thank Mayor Mattis and council for what appears to be forward progression with the Wardman Park pool reconstruction. Or is it something else? Perhaps during report time, someone could fill us in. On behalf of the residents of Desert Hot Springs who still believe in this community pool, we are looking forward to it serving our community for years to come. We would appreciate an update and maybe even some insight as to what we can look forward to. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Bacardi, followed by Greta Carter.
Good evening, Mayor, council, staff. I have a few announcements of things happening in Desert Hot Springs. First, the Angel View Outlet Store on Dillon Road has installed the Art in Public Places installation and will be having a dedication soon. We're looking at possibly the middle of May. The reason there's no set date is they're trying to coordinate with the students at Painted Hills Middle School who have done all of the artwork. They've created mosaic pieces that are now installed. The installation went in just Friday, and the address is 64669 Dillon. Watch the space, watch Facebook, watch for press releases regarding when this will be happening. It will be sometime this month. They're just trying to work out logistics with the kids at the school. Second, the bands have been announced for the first Jammin' in the Desert outdoor concert series presented by the Community and Cultural Affairs Commission. The first concert, June 15th, will feature radio-appropriate rap and hip-hop at Tedesco Park from 5 to 9 p.m. This battle of the bands will feature Callie Rue, Too Toxic, Yo Stevie, and Lou Turnett. My apologies if I destroyed any of those. Mark your calendars for the third Fridays of June, July, August, and September for these free concert, again presented by the Community and Cultural Affairs Commission. The Classical Music Series is closing its 4th season this Sunday, May 6th at Grace Church, with a concert of Four Hands LA, who can... Excuse me, I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting, forgive me. With a concert, Four Hands LA, including the founder, Danny Holt, and a gentleman named Van Howard. They will do a 4-hand concert, which is 2 men playing on 1 piano. It should be very interesting. This season, they have had the largest attendance with more venues, more artists, and more venues to come in the future. This is their 4th year, and it's been their most successful. The concert is at Grace Church at 4 p.m. this Sunday, which is 17400 Bubbling Wells Road. Lastly, and not to do with any of the announcements, I was going to make a comment about the elephant in the room and the use of certain individuals to further their political agenda by using something that has really hurt and their attempt to divide this community. I don't believe I need to make that announcement. There were things on the media. Things are moving forward. I do want to say, where am I here? I want to compliment the city for working with the community to get this issue taken care of, and I look forward to the groundbreaking, and maybe during comments we can find out when that might happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bacardi. Greta Carter, followed by Simone Sandoval. Greta, you're going to speak publicly on an issue. It's not on item number 7. You can come back during item number 7 and speak on that issue. Got it.
Thank you, City Council and staff members. I am here to bring attention to the last City Council meeting, which was item 17, that passed on the consent calendar when the agenda was approved. I want to bring to your attention the business implications of what that issue is, and to make a request that that item be, because it's in its 30 days, what I understand could be done is if 2 city council members would agree, or the mayor would agree, would be to be able to put it back on the agenda, so we would have an opportunity to express to you the details of the financial implications that happened with the passage of that item. I'm sorry if it's being confusing, but it is a little confusing. The issue is that the passage of that has an effect, allows micro businesses, which I have understood you to be opposed to, but it now allows our dispensaries to be able to have a micro business license with light manufacturing, cultivation, and retail. But it puts a significant disadvantage to the cultivators who have been denied that same opportunity because they were omitted from that ordinance. And it also puts a huge disadvantage to the hoteliers that have been making aggressive pleas to be able to have micro business licensing. So I've got 2 businesses that have financially been impacted with the passage of that, and with our inability to be able to express to you what the implications were with that before it was passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
And one more last point. I'm going to continue to work with city staff on making any amendments or anything else that we need to do to make it work and more explainable, but timing is money to all of us, and if we could get that back on the agenda so we could, that's the most expeditious way for us to be able to address it.
Thank you very much. Simone Sandoval, followed by Ryan Fingerhut.
Hi, my name is Simone Sandoval, and I work for High Road Consulting Group. I just want to say thank you guys for embracing the cannabis industry and everything you've done working towards the ordinances. Definitely thank you, Jennifer, for writing all those ordinances. I just want to respectfully urge the council to be a little more proactive in the city's desire to merge the hotel and spas industry. On February 20th, the council reviewed special permitting for the hotels and spa industries, and Mayor Mattis and the rest of the council expressed support for the ideas, but wanted to revisit in 30 days. It's now May, and we haven't had a study session on that, and I just encourage an open dialogue on how to incorporate cannabis opportunities into your spa cities, since we are the spa city. I just want to point out there are some neighboring cities that have embraced cannatourism. For example, Cathedral City, as of this month, now allows cannabis lounges for dispensary holders. And while they have a moratorium for those dispensaries south of I-10, they allow dispensaries north of I-10. So I just want to kind of urge you to be prepared that some of these consumption lounges are going to be located on property adjacent to Desert Hot Springs. Palm Springs also allows cannabis consumption lounges, and they haven't specifically limited the number of available licenses. That kind of gives them a considerable edge, especially with their redevelopment of their downtown and the new Kimpton Hotel. But what those cities don't have is the spa experiences that people travel far to come and experience. For example, we have the mineral waters, the sound baths, the harmonic vibrations. Even locals from Down Valley come here. They don't go to Palm Springs, they go to La Quinta. They come to Bunch Palms to get a full experience. I also want to clarify that the hotels aren't looking to set up their own dispensary. They're looking to set up another experience like they offer for the clients right now. So example, they have yoga, painting, meditation, massages. They just want to add cannabis as another thing that they can offer, especially since you guys have been so open to cannabis for the different zones. And I just want to emphasize that right now, even though hotel guests can go to dispensaries and pick up something and bring it back to the hotel, that won't happen. People don't want to come to do errands. They don't know DHS. They don't want to go buy their own massage oils and then have it incorporated into their massage. I just don't see that business model working. So with all that said, I respectfully ask the council to schedule a study session to discuss how the hotel and spa integration will work. And then I ask for the council. Oh,
That's
sorry.
your 3 minutes.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Ryan? Fingerhut, followed by Peter. I know I'm going to take your last name to a whole different level, so I'm just going to call you Peter today, okay?
Thank you. My name is Ryan Fingerhut. I'm with High Road Consulting Group. I'll probably be hitting on some of the themes you've heard earlier, but I just kind of would like to emphasize the need for a study session sometime within the next 30 days with City Council. Basically, so first I'd like to thank City Council for being forward-thinking, for being open to the cannabis industry, and for creating a dialogue. It has always been our findings that we've been able to speak with you each as an individual, and we've always been able to, for the most part, get our voices heard here at City Council. The issue is that because of the Brown Act, obviously, outside of a more formal setting, we can't speak with all of you to address all of your concerns in a productive way. When we're at City Council, it's public comments where we all get to say our piece. And then maybe during an agenda item we get to say a piece, but when you all are debating between yourselves, and you might come up with something that maybe is factually incorrect about a legal issue that the industry has or something of that nature, we can't really engage with you on a one-on-one and come back and forth with you so that we can have a real open dialogue. So I very much encourage that we create a study session so that we can. As a good example of some of the issues that we'd like to address, back in October 17th, an ordinance was heard by City Council that was going to allow micro businesses. The city council was pretty sure that at that point they wanted to at least have a study session, which I believe they later did, to address their concerns. One of the main concerns that was voiced during that meeting was the idea of extraction happening in the commercial zones. Since then, what has effectively happened with the recent light manufacturing ordinance is that from the state's perspective, all dispensaries in the city of DHS are now going to be micro businesses. They'll be allowed to do 99 plants, which they'll need a cultivation license for. They'll need their dispensary license to dispense, and now they will automatically have the ability to do light manufacturing, which is an infusion. So as far as the state's concerned, all dispensaries will now be micro businesses. And what I believe that shows is that while City Council may have certain issues with certain things or certain concerns when it comes to certain types of licensing, that those can be addressed in ways outside of a ban. And I encourage a study session so that the industry can have an open dialogue with City Council members about what those concerns are, and come up with creative ways that since we live and breathe it 24 hours a day, whereas you have many other concerns, we might be able to offer alternatives that would be constructive, address your concerns as well as addressing ours. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Peter, followed by Jan Pai.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My concern is businesses that are coming into the city and doing business. And furthermore, for example, tow companies. I live in a community where my vehicle was towed, even though I went outside and told them to drop the vehicle because my medicine was inside. And they just up and just kept going. They said I had to give them $185 right then and there, and they drop it, which is not the law. They don't have a driver DMV carrier permit to tow vehicles. Nobody's been able to help me in the city. It's no less auto theft. And I try to press charges, and it's being told to me that it's a civil matter. Well, they've got no permit to operate in the city, no city business license, and the car was towed to over 30 miles away. How fair is that for us residents? It's not really fair. Who protects us residents? I mean, these road companies could just come and just tow vehicles, because I could just do the same thing. Go grab myself a tow truck, no need for permit, and start towing people's cars indiscriminately. So there's got to be some way to either prevent or regulate these companies that come from out of the city, because it's not right. Because now they're holding my car hostage, My medicine is now, they wouldn't let me retrieve it unless I paid them $185. So now it's expired because the heat just killed it. So now I have to go 2 weeks because the insurance company won't replace my medicine. And there's been no help. I mean, the police department, they wash their hands clean. They've been very proactive in the past. I have nothing but good things to say about the police department. They've treated me with respect and understanding every time when I interact with them. I support them 100%, but nobody wants to get involved in recovering this vehicle or even holding them accountable for not having their permits. No city license, no DMV permit. I mean, who's to stop anybody from towing anybody's car and just throw up our hands and say, oh, it's a civil matter? I mean, yeah, okay, great. That does nothing when I have to wait 35 days for a court date. You know, there goes my medicine, there go my treatments, because that was a car that I had purchased to be more economically feasible for me instead of a big SUV to take me to the hospital to get my treatments to come home. And it was just up and towed. You know, so I just, you know, I live in an association, so the association is somewhat responsible. But I'm also in an association that's run by a dictator, nonetheless, who holds, you know, the complex illegally. So, I mean, who do we turn to as residents for help? Because I'm getting no help at all, other than being told it's a civil matter. Who could help me?
You
Yeah.
know, we can't have a two-way
Oh, you can't
conversation.
answer, okay. Well,
But I'm gonna have staff meet you on the side there.
all right, thank you very
we'll Go
much.
from there. Thank you very much, Peter.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask staff to, I'm curious on this one, I just want to get some more details. So if staff could get the details and then they could report back to the council what's exactly going on with this one, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Jan Pye, followed by Dora Dela Cruz.
This may not be appropriate right now, but public servants deserve our appreciation daily. Public Servant Recognition Week is May 6th through May 12th. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Jan.
Dora Dela Cruz, followed by John Scafani. He's the last public speaker I have. This is the second call for public speakers. How you doing? Can you pull the mic down a little bit? No worries.
I know, I'm too short. Sorry. Mi nombre es Dora. Estoy en apoyo todavía con la señora Patty con respecto a las luces de la Palm Drive.
I'm going to have you stop right there. I'm going to have our
No.
resident
Okay.
Spanish speaker
I'm
here.
sorry.
She's going to
Yeah,
interpret
I'm
for
sorry.
us, okay?
El problema es de que yo estoy en apoyo todavía con la luz de la Palm Drive y la Camino Ventura.
Permítame un momentito. So her name is Dora Dela Cruz, and she was just here to express her support for the light, cuando dice las luces,
Palm Drive, the Palm Drive.
dice el semáforo.
Sí, perdón.
Okay. And she's in support of having a signal light where Pam was run over.
Sí, con respecto a eso, de la junta que tuvimos en el Palm Drive Motor Homes el día 19 de abril, si usted recuerda, hubo un encuentro muy fuerte entre el manager y algunos residentes de ahí, especialmente mi esposo. Yo solamente lo que quiero connotar, que la verdad, las personas que estuvimos involucradas tenemos miedo a las represalias del manager.
Okay, permítame un momento. So she just wants to refresh our memory about the meeting that we had at the mobile home park, and she was speaking about how it ended in a very troubled note with Aitai, and she was just saying that you know, they're a little afraid of I guess going to him to speak about certain issues. Sí, adelante.
De hecho, la viernes pasado él estuvo afuera de mi casa tomando fotos y estuvo hablando con alguien, y el siguiente día mandó a un ayudante que hiciera lo mismo. La verdad, yo tengo miedo que tome represalias y nos quieran sacar las personas que estuvimos involucradas, pero es porque solamente estuve en mi espacio, en mi casa, tomando notas y...
Yeah. So she was saying that I guess Aitai was outside of her unit taking pictures and writing notes, and so Aitai.
Itai.
He's the manager.
I always
of
have
the
trouble. I
Palm
don't know if
Drive
it's Itai or
Resort.
Itai. I don't know. So she was saying that he was outside her unit taking pictures, writing notes, and she's afraid because then the following day she sent somebody else to do the same thing, and she's afraid that they're gonna try to kick her out of the park or something for taking part in that meeting that we had with the members of the mobile home park community.
Porque ya antes lo ha hecho, yo tengo pruebas de que nos hostigaba y tengo pruebas de que quería meter grúas para sacar nuestros carros, so no es la primera vez que tenemos problemas con él.
Yeah, she was just saying that she's seen it happen to other people, or they get kicked out of the mobile home park or asked, to get rid of their cars or things like that. So she's concerned of like what's gonna happen.
Y tengo un ¿cómo se llama? Reporte policial de que él estaba terco en querer sacar mi carro de mi propiedad, so que él estaba hostigando.
And she says she has a police report that states that he was trying to get her car removed from her property.
Okay, if you can advise her to see staff on the side, and we'll try to assist her in her rights.
Okay, so ahorita la van a asistir para platicar con usted sobre sus derechos.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. John Scavani, followed by James Velasquez. Can we make sure staff gets the information from the young lady?
Dora, si podría pasar para acá adelante.
Sorry, John, go ahead.
Principal and manager of Desertland Ventures, and I've gotten involved. I was listening to Ryan speak about the need to have study meetings and conferences about what we're going to do. We've got a pretty good project plan for our city here, and we really today was the first meeting for the advisory board from the CV Can Association to the city, and our mayor was there. Unfortunately, there was miscommunication. I'm the chairman of that, and I didn't make it. But I will be at all the future ones, so that was kind of a mess. But the importance of this and what I'm trying to bring to the advisory board and encouraging anybody that's in our city that's in the business, to participate, because this is a win-win. We want to embrace what the plans the city has. We want to be able to take those concerns and convey it to our businesses and figure out solutions that's going to work for everybody involved and make it a win-win for everybody. If we're not working together as a team, it's just not going to work. We're all in this. This is a tough industry. I came into this industry not as a grower that's trying to get legal. I'm a developer that ended up with land here that said, what are we going to do with it now? And what's the business aspect of it? How can we benefit the city? How can we bring in jobs, training, and all of the aspects that are going to go into what our challenges are? And DHS is going to compete with the rest of the world. So it's not just an individual business or a city issue. It's an us, that we need you, you need us. And so that's where we want to get these study groups going to come up with as many possible solutions and systems that'll benefit both of us. Make us more successful, the city's more successful. And I think today you were off to a good start. I missed it. I got, Jason brought me up to speed on it. But we really want to be aggressive in the study groups. We really want to set a vision. I always say, if you don't have a vision, how do you make decisions? You don't know where you're going, how you're going to get there. So we'd like to help and invite everybody that's in the business to get involved with it. We want more input, more ideas, and it's okay to disagree. But when you're looking at dispensaries have needs, growers have needs, and these are tough. And we need to figure out something that's going to work for all of them and work it together and make it a positive environment for communication. So I really want to thank you for being at the meeting today. It's extremely important, and we're throwing the open invitation for people to get involved because it's all of us, okay? I know, I mean, I've got a big project coming in. We got great plans, but it doesn't work if we're not all successful
Thanks, John.
together. So thank you.
James Velasquez is our last speaker. Final call. Anybody would like to speak, just fill out a blue card and come forth.
Good evening, council. My hat's off to you. My name is James Velasquez. Anyways, I am with VetSleaf. I am the cultivation supervisor. I believe this is the
Can I
title.
stop you 1 second? Are you going to speak on the item that's on the agenda
No.
tonight? Okay. Just make sure you stir from that because you can come up again and speak on that item.
Yes.
Got it.
But anyways, I am here, first of all, to say thank you. You guys really accepted marijuana, the marijuana industry with open arms. And if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to chase my dreams. And that's what I'm here to talk about. I have friends that also want to chase their dreams. The thing that I can do is I can only hope to dream a dream big enough that I can help to facilitate other folks' dreams. And I'm doing it. I've got friends coming from all over the world wondering, James, what are you doing nowadays? Ain't nobody got to know. Ain't nobody got to know. Great things, though. Good things. I've got friends from LA saying, hey, we just came out, you know, we saw you. You know, what are you doing Desert Hot Springs? Beautiful flashlights. Big old it's a big greenhouse. And the one thing I want to second everyone that's come up here, those study groups really need to be done because it is a massive, massive project. And it's going to bring a lot of people into the valley. We are the Mecca. We're becoming the Mecca of cultivation, of this beautiful thing to help not just the Coachella Valley, but the world eventually. If you think about it, you guys have set that ground. Now, I want to let you guys know of what we have planned, but that'll be in the study groups because music is coming. The one main concern of mine is that of affordable housing. I mean, there's plenty of houses out here. Well, maybe. I tried to rent one out and, you know, it got taken away real quick. Affordable housing is one of those things. I have friends, teachers from LA, where we're trying to do music things. They just opened up something in the river, and it's gonna be for kids. And I wanna do the same thing here for Desert Hot Springs. Bring good music. I mean, I just heard about, I forgot what it was, but I wanna do that thing with the bands. I wanna bring good bands, good music. And they all wanna teach the kids, because we all know the kids are the future. And I say, what's stopping you guys from coming here? We have no place to live. You know, if they get paid in LA, they start around $45,000 for salary for a teacher. When I told them Palm Springs Unified School District will start at 60 grand, whoo, they want to be here. They don't have a place to live, that's all.
Thanks, James.
You're welcome, yes.
All right, we're going to move on to city manager's report. Could we have staff step outside and I know there's some public out there that wanted to hear part of your report, Mr. City Manager. Because somebody grab Doria. And Mr. City Manager, it's all yours. You want me to move on, Mr. City Manager, or?
I'm waiting to see if we can get these folks inside.
Can we ask them to step in, Luke? And I don't have a second, so can we ask them to step in and so we can start our report and then we can go back out and? They're not here for public comment. I'm trying to move on to the city manager's report. I just want Patricia to come in because she wanted to hear a report.
She needs to come in. Thank you, sir. Danny, could you please go into the status of the traffic signal where this
Yes.
unfortunate accident occurred?
Yes, thank you very much. Just to update on the projects that we have ongoing, we completed our SSARP report 2 weeks ago, and just specifically on the traffic signal or the traffic signal warrant analysis, that was our priority for Palm Drive and Camino Ventura. We also completed the traffic signal warrant analysis, and based on the analysis, it didn't meet all warrants for the installation of a brand new traffic signal at that intersection. So staff immediately has already directed our consultant engineer to proceed with the engineering design for that intersection. We expect the design completed and construction started within the next 2 months, depending on how intricate the electrical is. But we did meet the warrants, which we're now moving forward with the design for the traffic signal at that intersection. The project is very large, but our priority is to begin at that intersection.
Danny, can you also discuss a little bit about how we intend on incorporating the entrance to the mobile home park that's close to there?
Currently, during the report, there's a couple of left turn conflicts between the mobile home parks across the street, one entering, one exit. You meet head on in the median, which we're going to also address with the installation of traffic signals. We will install medians, and we would change the stop lines to be behind the actual entrance of the actual mobile home park to the west. The one to the east will be limited to right turn, left turn. That way there is no conflict. So we are not only going to address just the traffic signal, but also the driver's safety when exiting and entering all of those mobile home parks in that area. And on another note, we currently have a draft ordinance, which is circling around our staff for the safety enhancement corridor for that area as well, where traffic fines can be doubled, where we can have a little additional signage and so forth. It's still in draft form, but we do expect to bring that to council fairly quick.
Thank you, Danny. And I'd like to also address all the folks that stood up tonight and talked about a study session in reference to Canada tourism. We are working diligently on 2 different specialty licenses in reference to Canada tourism. One would be for use in spas, and also the second would be for tasting rooms in our cultivation locations. But we have to be very specific about these and ensure that our companies that are going to incorporate these have a set of rules provided by the city that provides a safe and responsible way of doing this, to ensure that it doesn't negatively impact the neighborhoods surrounding the spas and so on and so forth. And so we are diligently working on this. There will be a study session within the next month in reference to this. So I can assure you it hasn't been abandoned. It's just there's a lot to it. And we've been studying a lot of what has happened in Colorado and Oregon and the mistakes they've made, and we don't want to make those same mistakes.
Anything else? All right, move on to council member comments. Who would like to go first tonight? Ms. Zavala, you're in.
We had the Regional Access Project Foundation annual strategic planning meeting for the board, so I participated in that. I attended the Senior Inspiration Awards. It was great to see Scott and his school teacher being awarded on stage, so that was a really sweet moment. I also attended the Flip the Switch event at Desert Springs Middle School to celebrate the installation of some solar shading structures over the staff parking lot, and then they also put it up in the blacktop area so that the students, when they're out on break, can get some shade, which I thought was really neat because we didn't have that when I was there. I'd look for the trees and like any buildings that would provide shade, and that's where we would stand. But so that was really exciting. I was able to just provide a few comments. And then I also attended the Ophelia Project Luncheon. They provide mentoring for teen girls between 8th and 12th grade. And then once they go through, they're also eligible to apply for scholarships for college. So it's a really neat program. And I hope that more girls from Desert Hot Springs take advantage of that mentoring program. And that's it for me.
Ms. Parks.
Thank you. I don't have a lot, and my notes I left at home, so it's going to be kind of off the top of my head. On the 19th, I attended the Coachella Valley Regional Housing Trust Committee meeting, and that is the committee that is working on the program of getting renters into home ownership. The city has provided their contribution. We're working on getting the tribe's contribution, and hopefully we'll have $60,000 to start that program up. We've also been over here to the senior center and have arranged to have a room there where we will meet with the eligible renters that want this program. So I'm excited about it. I'm hoping that we can start within the next 6 months. Oh, on the 20th, I also went to the Senior Inspiration Awards, and it was very exciting to see Scott give the senior award to his first grade teacher. And on the 26th, I attended the local area formation commission meeting. Desert Hot Springs had an agenda item on there, which was a developer-driven annexation for a parcel that is on Little Morongo, southwest of Two Bunch. They want to come into the city. They have asked for it to be continued a second time. So now it is continued until May 24th. On the 27th, I attended the Coachella Valley Visitors and Convention Bureau.
Sure, that's close enough.
Well, whatever. Scott wasn't able to attend, so he asked me to attend in his place. I had a real lengthy report because I'm telling you, I remember attending the CVB meetings in the past. Scott White, as their director, is doing a marvelous job. Anyway, we got reports from everybody. Special presentations, restaurant week, chill meetings, ambassador program. They have so many committees that are working to get tourism going in Coachella Valley. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McKee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of comments, and I'll talk about 3 meetings I went to. I went to a bunch more, but I'm not going to talk about them. First of all, I don't know if people realized it, but Dr. McDaniel actually got mentioned 4 or 5 times in an article that's just come out about a meeting of the Teachers of the Year for 50 states meeting with Betsy DeVos in Washington, I would assume. It's an interesting article if you can Google it and look at it. I think it's interesting that Brian was quoted more than any other person in it. If we could get a comment about Ms. Hickey's things that she brought up as far as what's going on with Wardroom Pool, I want to emphasize again that I think everyone up here wants to upgrade the pool and reopen it as soon as possible. So I would ask maybe that the city manager talk about what's going on. I know that the pool itself is being drained to get quotes on plastering it, but I don't know much more beyond that. 3 meetings that were important. I went to the homeless committee meeting this month. The big thing that happened was we approved some additional money to improve the interface between Path of Life and the various police departments. Our police chief is out talking, so that's going to be when I'm going to have to emphasize with him. The reason this is important is the Path of Life has been using mostly the county's coordinated entry system, which is a system that's set up sort of independently of the police department. And Cathedral City brought up the fact that a lot of the people that cause usage of resources in their community weren't even on that list. So we're making sure that there's more communication and more assistance for the PDs as far as the people that are homeless that are utilizing a lot of their time and resources, not to mention the situations at the hospital. I had a 20-minute conversation with Assemblyperson Chow. He's the person that is in charge of the housing committee in Sacramento. What I did was I put forth the problems we were having with the various housing programs that the state was putting together, and emphasized that we are not like San Francisco, we are not like Los Angeles, we are not like San Diego. And there are lots of cities like us, I think, in the state. The thing that was disheartening about it after I talked to him about what the problems were as far as a city that had lower incomes and lower property values, He commented that I'd never heard this sort of thing before, which was a disappointment considering the amount of time I and my colleague, Mr. Betts, have spent yelling about this for the last 10 years. This is unsatisfactory. We're going to keep working on it. I'm especially concerned that the comments we've been making at SCAG have obviously not been getting back up to Sacramento. It is a massive problem. I know we had the gentleman coming up and talking about housing. This is exactly the ballpark that they should be working on. They continue to put together systems that don't work. All of the systems, I would give them A's for intent and F's for execution as far as I'm concerned. The big thing from the poor community standpoint is what should happen in the state systems that are trying to ensure low-income housing is built. The present makeup of your housing should be included. I used as an example, theoretically, Beverly Hills complies with low-income housing laws in the state, and Desert Hot Springs does not, which is absurd. It is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. I also attended Supervisor Washington's Lift Up Rivco, Riverside County. This was in some ways another disappointing thing because we talked about 4 major areas: health and safety, education, jobs, and housing. The unfortunate thing is that we could have had this conversation 20 years ago, and unless we do something now about these issues, we'll be talking about them in 20 years. I think one of the frustrations I have right now is we have lots of committees, we have lots of people trying to do things, but it's uncoordinated. The people that are writing environmental law don't talk to the people that are writing housing law, that are trying to do economic and everything else. And in a lot of cases, they're butting up against one another and creating situations where they're actually hurting one another's efforts. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Mr. Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to, as I was sitting here listening to Councilmember McKee talking about the housing issues, and you know, he's right. It just seems like eons, ages that we've been working on this one. And what he didn't mention is that we have made progress here as a city. But Joe, to his credit, has taken this to a statewide push. And Joe, I want to commend you on that. You've just been really focused on this one. So we've made progress for our city, but statewide, it's a mess. Attended the Riverside County Transportation Commission meeting as an alternate for the mayor. That was the Budget and Implementation Committee. We sent that to you, so you'll get to vote. I voted. I was good behaved myself up there. You won't hear any complaints. Attended the Airport Land Use Commission, attended Southern California Association of Governments, nothing pertaining to Desert Hot Springs. We have an annual conference in Indian Wells for Southern California Association of Governments. That's coming up this Thursday and Friday. And my life got a whole lot busier recently. I'm now a radio host of a daily radio show. You can hear it on iHub Radio, so that's got me increasingly busy.
You mean you've got that much time, Russ?
I tell you what, I don't know, it's so much work. It's on 5 days a week, so
Whatever keeps him busy, I like
you can
it.
see on the internet. So that and a grandson, and anyhow. Regarding some of the comments and public comment, first off is regarding the Brown Act. You can talk to all 5 of us all you want till you're blue in the face. There is no restriction on that. The Brown Act does not prevent you from talking to all 5 of us. Just don't tell us what each other said. That's basically the rule, okay? We can't have a meeting ourselves outside of this room or a publicly announced meeting, and we can't have a meeting through a serial meeting with you acting as the conduit. But other than that, call, lobby, all of us. On a study session, I 100% agree. I hope the mayor will call that swiftly and get that done. I agree that should have been done a long time ago. On the issues that you're expressing, I've had some conversations on this. I think I've been pretty clear in where my view is on that. I'm wondering when this state is actually going to make cannabis legal, because it seems to me that every government agency sits around in their weekly meetings and says, how can we regulate this? How can we get on this? Every other agency is regulating it. What can we pile on? And this is a perfect example of California doing what it does best, regulating business. It's incredible to me. As far as the city goes, the issues here are Canada tourism. I'm ready to go. I don't know what we're waiting for. Let's move. There's no reason. Other cities are doing it. It's here, and I want to get that moved quickly. So, but I do want to hear some input from the industry, and if that be, call me. You know my phone number. I'm happy to call, sit down, or in a study session where we get that input. Fine. I would rather see that than just have something worked out come to us. And I think that's part of maybe what was going on, is that with some of the confusion on the other issue is that the council seems to be pretty clear in what it wants to do. And with the one issue that came up, all we did was to determine that dispensaries can now also be bakeries. And I think on the issues that are near and dear to the cultivator's heart and the hotelier's heart, we just haven't gotten to those yet. It's not that we've done anything in favor of one over the other. It's just that we've taken care of one group where we said they want to be bakeries, and the rest of it just hasn't been brought up yet. And I really think to address those other issues and to get some clarity, that's what we need the study session for really quickly. So, and if state's calling our dispensaries, what do you call them? What's the word for it? Sorry, you can yell out from the audience. Micro business is fine. We call them dispensaries. The state calls them, so it happens to be what we call dispensary fits the state's definition of a micro business. That's fine, but we're following zoning and what we want to see in our city, and so that's that. If staff will get back to me on that towing issue, I'm just darned curious to see what that was about afterwards. There's something in the backstory of that I didn't want to ask about, but I sure want to see what that was. So if you get back to me on that. At the last council meeting, I think the council directed staff to prepare a letter to LAFCO. Did that letter get prepared and sent?
It has not yet.
Okay.
It's on my plate.
Okay, but LAFCO had a meeting and they continued. What if they hadn't continued and decided that without our input, or wasn't this?
I think that
It was automatically continued. It was told to me it was automatically continued, and it was continued to May 24th.
Okay, so they had enough communication from us to know that if they wanted to continue that, so it wasn't an issue.
It was actually a developer-initiated continuance.
Okay, and so all the council will get a copy of that letter prior
Correct.
to it being sent?
Yes.
So we can, okay, great. And then the Wardroom Park pool. Having that pool renovated and kept into life, it's a very wonderful thing. James had it, and Frank Sinatra kicked in a whole bunch of money. I think Frank Sinatra kicked in $12,000, which back then, I think if you go do the math, it equals about $70,000 in today's terms. So it was no small amount back in when he made that contribution. And Jim had it, and everybody, the community came together and created this wonderful, wonderful pool. Now, I have been personally invested in that pool and that program to the tune of I've done just about everything I can to keep that pool going. We made a commitment 3-4 years ago that it wouldn't cost the city a dime to keep that pool going, and it hasn't. That includes putting on a swim program. That includes scholarships. So it's really, so then this report comes out by the council that something's red tagged and we didn't need the building. And I'm not going to go into a big long discussion on that, but I was in the process of saying, okay, you say the equipment's no good or it's dangerous or something. So I called in some people. I had some people who had heard the meeting and said, hey, we're willing to step up and help this community. Just as before, there's people that really care about this community and willing to care about it with their dollars. So I asked the staff, could you open it up, let them in? They opened the gate, let us in. The guy goes in, and this was a very qualified pool company. I didn't get to anybody. I got somebody who came down from Beverly Hills. That's where their area of business is. They know what they're doing. They know pools. And their assessment on that equipment was, their exact words is, that equipment's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good to go. Now, it wasn't the most modern, but the pumps were working. Everything was going fine, and the pool was circulating. And so now my question is, why are we not having a summer swim season? Because that's what I was working towards, was somehow to, without it costing anything, and keep the renovation going. But now we're in a 90-day bid process, or at least. I don't know how long this is going to take. I'm sitting here with absolutely no answers. I have no idea. Completely surprised to get calls that, hey, we're tearing, you got to come down here. They're tearing all this stuff out of the pool. The pool's dead. We had hopes of opening the swim program there. So we recovered. All Desert Aquatics has found another location thanks to some owners stepping up when they saw that problem, and we got another pool, and so swim lessons will go on, scholarships will go on, all this will go on. We took the punch and moved on, but I just think there needs to be a whole lot better communication going on between staff and council when something like that's planned, especially when people are so invested in this personally. Members of the community who have been there for 28 years, other community members who have volunteered and put up money, and then just to have that as a surprise. I understand the renovation, but a simple call, hey, by the way, let you know we're doing this, and that courtesy call didn't come. So yeah, I'm a little miffed. The only other thing I got is I understand there was a trip to Washington, D.C., and I don't know a thing about it. I don't know what it was about. I guess there was a note in the staff report that comes. We get a staff report once a week, and I guess on Thursday it came. I missed the note in there, but I would love if somebody would tell me what this was about. If there was a council, was it a vacation? If it was a vacation, fine, it was good, I got it. If it was city business, and it's gonna be that kind of expenditure, it should be brought to the council, it should be discussed, is this something we wanna do? And if somebody told me about this, or I was aware about this, let me know when, because I sure don't remember having any conversation like that, and I sure don't remember it coming to this dais. Before I brought this up, I asked other council members, when we sit on boards and commissions and other places, we meet with other council members, and I asked them, I said, if something like this was planned, they said, well, if it's on their dime, you can't stop them, but if it's gonna be a item like this, then it needs to come to your dais, and it needs to be voted on by the council. So I hope when we get to the next set of comments that we'll learn what this trip was about, and that's it.
All right, so it's my turn. First, I'm going to talk about the events I went at, and then I'll give a report on the Washington, D.C. trip, which was alluded to by Mr. Betts, who was well aware of the trip. So Palm Springs Cannabis Film Festival had an event here in Palm Springs, and I was invited to speak with Mayor Pro Tem Greg Pettis and Councilmember Coors. Corinne was our moderator, and she asked questions about the city governments and how they're moving forth with the cannabis industry. So it was nice. There was a room of about 50 people, so it was nice to be invited. Alluding to my first grade teacher, which a couple of you did, this was a true honor as a mayor of the city of Desert Hot Springs. There's not very often that you get to do something without the whole council's approval, and this was one of those things. So I was able to nominate a senior inspiration of our community, and all the mayors get to nominate one. The county supervisor nominates two, and this is something that's been going on since, I believe, Corky Larson was the supervisor here in Riverside County. She started this. So for the last 4 supervisors, they've continued this event each year. I looked at a list of volunteers in our community, and I found Miss Rosemary Stonick. She is now 92 years old. She has been volunteering in our community for 42 years with Food Now. She taught school all the way up till she was 89, and so she finally retired a couple years ago. And I just, come to find out when I was a volunteer with Food Now, she was my first grade teacher. So she was my wife's 3rd grade teacher, and she's a lot of people's teacher in this community. But she's an absolute inspiration to our community, and we were able to award her being 92 years old. So it was a great event. The CVAG Executive Committee met last night. There was a couple things of concern here for the City Council. One is the TUMP Nexus study. This is a fee that developers pay when they develop. That fee is actually being brought down. So that's a great thing for developers in our region. The study's been done, those fees have been brought down. What the discussion is now is whether affordable housing will continue to be able to get a pass on having to pay those fees, or if they do pay those fees in the future, but right now they're getting a pass. So that's a great thing for developers. Traffic synchronization, phase 2, these studies being done. Doesn't pertain directly to Desert Hot Springs, even though in the CVAG plan that we have for the new lighting along Palm Drive from Pearson to Hacienda, we will have some apparatus put into our signals for synchronization, but this project is focused on the Highway 111, so when you're traveling down Highway 111, hopefully the lights will synchronize and you'll be able to get through faster. This has been talked about for years, and we're finally got to the study part of it, so it's fantastic. There was a big discussion in the last meeting about the amendments to the JPA. Still a little confusing, but we, as a collective body, basically agreed on a couple things. One, that 2/3 of the membership must vote to continue or must vote for amendments. We will have more of a discussion at this level because that agreement will be coming back to the city council, and you cannot be kicked out of the JPA if you don't do it within 90 days. That was taken out. There's still a little confusion on whether the general membership votes on this or not, and according to their attorney and the majority of the room, they still don't think the general membership is the body that votes on this. So that'll be a discussion when we bring it back to city council. And I think that, there was some contract amendments. The CV Link is fully funded now through the last part of transportation money they received from the state. And they're continuing, I think Palm Desert and Palm Springs are the next two pieces of the link that are going to go through. And they have some offshoots, and so that's pretty much done. Palm Drive Estates, we had a meeting there. I was invited by the management along with the police chief, and then we invited, I asked that Annie Ellie Zavala, as a mayor pro tem, also attend due to the fact that she can speak both languages and help interpret. Our police chief invited our commander, who also speaks both languages, and we had a very productive meeting. I know it got heated in certain areas, but for the most part, it was very productive. As you saw tonight, the mobile home park is on the south end of the city, and they're very concerned about being able to pull into traffic and onto traffic and crosswalks and lights. And we couldn't make a promise at that point because it would be a bad governing to do that, to say that we'll go out and get that light for you without the proper study. But we moved it as quick as possible, and within just a little over a week, we finished that study, and I want to commend staff on moving forth on this, and the money will be there to be able to put that stoplight in and make that safer. It's not just about the loss of a life there, it's about preserving life in the future, and the mobile home park made it very clear that pulling onto that street is very unsafe. And a lot of us had to make it very clear that we don't see it every day. So for them to step up and speak to us the way they chose to really informed us on how the safety is important for that area. I think both of us saw and heard the passion from the community, and we hope that this body will have made all the right moves to make what your concerns were to make that a safer place to live. So we're very happy with that. Finally, when the city manager became city manager 2 years ago, one of the things that I spoke to him about was lobbying for the needs of our community. We had cut our lobbyist out in the past years ago when the budget was really bad. And so over time, he's been preparing to see how we could get back to Washington, D.C., the state of California, and start lobbying for the grants that are important to the city of Desert Hot Springs. And recently had an opportunity to work with a Federal Advocates, who's a lobbying group out of Washington, D.C. They also work within the state of California. And so we did a trial run with them. They asked for the mayor, the city manager, and the police chief to come back to Washington, D.C. to do some lobbying for some of the needs of our community after we had a meeting online or via teleconference and talked about the needs of our community. First, I was very impressed by what they asked us to do. We spent 4 days there. It was 20 meetings in 4 days, meeting with legislators, Department of Transportation, Department of Justice, there was Homeland Security. 13 of those 13 meetings were focused on cannabis issues. 6 of those meetings were focused on transportation, and 5 public safety, and they're kind of interactive. So some of the committees we went to focused on multiple issues, but for the most part, they were very interested in Desert Hot Springs ideas of where we're going, and they've encouraged council members in the future to come back to DC so that they can help continue to lobby for the needs. There's over $1 trillion coming through for transportation needs. There's $1.5 billion, I believe, for public safety needs. So there's a lot of things, and if we walk away with $1 or $2 million extra dollars in our community, this will be very important to us. I've watched the lead of other cities, and they go on a yearly basis, multiple council members, mayors, to head back to there to lobby, and they're receiving funds. The most recent is Cathedral City receiving firefighter funds. So those are the things that are important for our community. I'm sorry if you didn't get the information, Mr. Betts. I would do what the law says, is if I spend money on the taxpayers, I would report out, and there was no no hiding this. I would always report out the same as anybody who goes to Sacramento. I don't think we've sat up here and voted on that. We've allowed you to go to Sacramento, participate, and come back and report. That's what the law says. So in the future, if you think it's prudent for the city council to focus on the trips that the city takes, then please bring an ordinance forth that focuses on that, or a policy that we will do that in the future. I apologize if you weren't informed. I know that the city manager sent out a full report the week before that and in that report was the notification of the Washington DC trip. Sorry if you missed it. With that said, I have nothing else. And if the council doesn't need a break, I'm going to move on to the public hearing. I don't hear anybody stepping up, so I'm going to move on to the public hearing. Our first public hearing tonight is item number 4, amendment to the development agreement number 1416 to add additional uses and revised language. The project site is located on a 2.31 acre site, approximately 350 feet east of Little Morongo Road and 1,000 feet north of Two Bunch Palms Trail in the light industrial zone, APN 663-280-002. And this will be Mr. Tasher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council members. Just a brief presentation. This is an amendment to a development agreement for the Green Bond Cultivation Facility, formerly known as AB Wellness. Okay, there we go. It's located approximately 350 feet east of Little Morongo Road in the Light Industrial District. Batteries. Will help. There we go. This is the approved site plan from October 18, 2016. The changes to the development agreement include a couple additional uses, I believe distribution and manufacturing. The manufacturing totals about 1,200 square feet as far as taxable area that's being lost. The development agreement also has some changes in the references to state laws, municipal codes, and is also updating the owner information. Since this project was already approved and the MND was certified, no significant changes are proposed as part of this amendment. Therefore, no further environmental analysis is required. There we go. And a recommendation from staff to approve the amendment to development agreement number 1416 for the Green Bond Cultivation Project, APN 663-280-002. Staff's available if you have any questions, and we have representatives here on behalf of the developer.
Thank you very much. Staff report, do you have any questions for staff?
Yes, one.
Yes, Mr. McKee.
Thank you. I just have one question/statement. I was concerned that this came before us because I thought that one of the things we'd done when we passed various things that dealt with developmental agreement changes based on things like manufacturing, those sorts of things, were to be done administratively rather than going through this process. I was told later that the people doing the development wanted to do this. So that's fine as far as I'm concerned. I just want to make it clear for everyone in the audience that's in the cannabis industry that this was not necessarily needed as far as we're concerned. It could have been done administratively. Thank you.
Any other comments, Mr. Betts?
Yeah, I just want to echo that point, clarify it. So that is the situation. It was the applicant that wanted to bring this back to this process? Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, I have nobody else in the queue. I'll open public hearings at this time. Would anybody like to speak to this? Actually, first I'll take testimony from the applicant. Is the applicant here?
Representing Green Bond. It's just a little house cleaning that we're doing here. We understand that it's not necessary, but the applicant would like to get the name changed on the development agreement. We agree with everything that you guys have said. We're here for answering any questions if you have.
All right, anybody else in the public like to speak to this item? See no one coming forth. I will let the applicant rebut all of those. No? All right, I'll close the public hearing at this time, and I'll have any more council discussion.
Move staff recommendation.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. McKee, you're back in the queue.
I was just going to move it.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to the administrative calendar at this time. I have item number 5 is the Furby Aquatic Center Professional Services License Agreement for Swim Programs. Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. First of all, come on over here. I'd like to introduce Morris Barkley. He is the representative of USA Management, and they were kind enough on very short notice to send us the representatives that can answer questions that you might have on this particular agenda item. On April 2nd, the city issued a request for proposal to manage the Furby Aquatic Center and provide aquatic programs from May 15th, 2018 to September 15th, 2018. The USA Management Limited Liability Company submitted a proposal for $68,180, which city staff is recommending the proposed agreement, which is attached, to be approved. As in the past, the city is seeking to enter into an agreement with a qualified pool management company to provide swimming lessons for all ages, water exercise for teens, adults, seniors, junior lifeguard, lifeguard training, recreational swimming for children, adults, and families, and pool and water safety lesson programs for the Furby Aquatic Center. In response to the city's request for proposal, USA Management has proposed to provide these services for the $68,180 for the period of May 15th through September 15th, 2018. The scope of work includes advertising and promoting the Furby Aquatic Center programs and events, community outreach, and daily operations. USA Management will collect the fees on behalf of the city, which are set according to the city's fee schedule for community open recreational swimming. They will also collect the appropriate fees for all the other aquatic programs, such as swimming lessons and exercise programs, and will keep these proceeds to cover the costs of these programs. USA Management agreement includes expanded pool hours. During the week, there will be swimming lessons and aquatic programs from 6:30 a.m. to 11 a.m., and the pool will then be open for community and open recreational swimming from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. On Saturdays and holidays, the pool will be open for community and recreational swimming from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'd like to point out that if you look through the proposal, there's a payment installment schedule, which is pretty awkward and a little confusing, and I'd just like to explain it to you. I talked to them about that, and because of their accounting, this is a template, their proposal template, and because of their own fiscal year and their own accounting protocols, that's how they laid out payment. But actually, because the payment installments are in the rears or back to December of 2017 on, their expectation is that when the agreement is signed, that June 1st, that they would collect all the installments up to that point that are listed in that proposal, and then subsequent to that, the future installments would be in place. So, to make a long story short, the initial payment, June 1st, would be for $37,499. The finance director has indicated that there is money, sufficient funds budgeted in the account that's listed for this fiscal year, and then the balance of $30,681 would be in the next fiscal year, which is it will be budgeted for that as well. The menu of programs that you may have seen on the proposal is simply that, a menu that they showed that they have available to fit the scope of work that we have presented to them. We have some flexibility to talk to them about what we feel would be most appropriate for our community. The one of the challenges we're going to have, because this went out in April 2nd, and we closed it at the RFP on the 23rd and reviewed it. We have very little time to hit the ground running to get the pool up and running, at least by the time the school year's over, but hopefully by Memorial Day weekend. They will hire locally. They're already starting the recruitment process. Our own human resource department will be assisting in looking for applicants that they can pass on to USA Management. But they are a large company. They typically hire up to 400 employees every year because a lot of the work is seasonal. And I will stop and answer any questions, and I certainly have Morris here that can handle any other questions regarding the company.
All right, before I get to council comments, I'm going to do public comments. So if you gentlemen will step to the side. Anybody would like to speak on this item may come forth at this time. Second call. Final call. All right, I'll close public comments. At this time, I have comments from Mr. McKee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got 3 things I'd like to discuss. First of all, again, in the 5 years I've been on the city council, this has been something that's been an issue as far as I'm concerned, as far as planning's concerned, meaning it generally is left until the last minute. We're in a position that we generally don't get very many people bidding on it, I think because of the time frame that we're in, as well as some other things. I would please, now that we're getting things squared away a little bit, suggest that we don't wait until the first of the year to start planning the swim program, that we start doing it after the new fiscal year starts, so that we're in a position that we're all set and not doing these last minute things. Second thing, a question now. One of the things that we see is that for swim teams to be successful in communities, they're generally year-round programs. They're not, you swim 3 months a year and then you go do something else. It's very important to me, I think, if you have swim team possibilities to coordinate with the high schools particularly, but even start talking about people in the elementary and middle schools about participating, because from a competition standpoint, to have people starting to swim in 9th grade and only swim 3 months a year, it's not going to be a very successful program. You wouldn't even have a football program that would be successful in that, let alone the swimming program. So that's just a question and comment to see if we're in a position we can get that taken care of. And finally, one of the things that is a problem as far as I'm concerned is entry fee in our community. We're a poor community, and for a family that has 5 or 6 kids to be able to afford $3 to $2.50 a head to go in is a financial problem. I know my colleague Mr. Betts talks about scholarships that they were using at Wardroom to get people to come into the pool. I would really I discussed not even charging anything if you're from the city, because we spend as a community from the general fund $500,000 to keep this pool open. It seems absurd when you go in there sometimes and see 4 people in the pool in the middle of the summer. I come from a poor community that if you went to the swimming pool in the middle of summer, there'd be 400 people in it. So my feeling is, okay, 0 is probably not practical, but let's charge $0.25 for each kid. Let's charge $1 for a family, something like that. And I'm making that suggestion. We can talk about it and figure out. But my point is, we have this hugely expensive resource that's being underutilized because people can't afford to go into them. Whenever we have the 0 pay days, like when Rotary does its hot dog day and things like that, the place is packed. And what I want to see is that it's packed every day and that the people of the community are using it. So there, thank you.
Ms. Zavala.
And going back to usage of the pool, I was also hoping that we could provide those swimming lessons in the late afternoons as well, to capture those families that are working during the day and can't take their kids to learn how to swim, or if they as adults want to learn how to swim. The swimming lessons from 6:30 to 11 are difficult to make if you're somebody that has a job and is working during the day. I know, for example, I wouldn't be able to do that. So that's just kind of, that's one of my suggestions is, you know, making sure that we're providing those swimming lessons in the late afternoons as well.
Mr. Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess questions for staff. So I'm going to share Councilmember McKee's sentiment that we probably are way late going out for this RFP. This is only 15 days. It's not really enough time for people to respond. Thank you for responding so quickly. I would like to have seen more proposals come in. I know this was mentioned months ago, so I hope we can get started on this and get that worked out. So I share Councilmember McKee's concerns there. I'm looking through the staff report and I see the certificates of liability are dated, unless I'm reading it wrong, 2015. And I trust that this is.
That's correct. And we've talked about that. That's just something that they put into the proposal to demonstrate that that's the company that they've been using. But their insurance company and their insurance certificates are current, and they will come back if the council approves this professional service licensing agreement. That when they get signed, they will come back with those. Also insured certificates for the city.
Okay, I just was pointing out the dates, and you say you're getting or have
correct
updated ones. Okay, and then certifications. You check to make sure they have certifications for Red Cross for when you hire lifeguards and train lifeguards and employ lifeguards. I think the managers are supposed to have Red Cross certification. Have you checked that out yet?
Well, when we have the personnel that are going to be assigned for our pool, we will have the resumes for each individual employee that's going to be lifeguarding, and we will have, they are required per the license to have that.
Okay, I know in for example, a hair salon, their station, the salon operator has a license that's required by the State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology, and I believe for training lifeguards or managing lifeguards, you also need to have Red Cross certification, so if we can make sure that's there. I did some research on your company. You show City of Columbus as one of your clients. On the proposal that you sent out, it says proudly serving, and it lists City of Columbus. I called City of Columbus, and they're not one of your clients, at least not according to the people I talked to there. And if you look at an article from May 12, 2016 for the Columbus Aquatic Center, unless I'm mistaken, they had to end that program. USA Pools is the same as USA Management, is that correct?
It is, sir. Yes.
Okay, so USA Pools' performance was far from what city leaders expected, and eventually the company's shortcomings were more than they would tolerate. This is an article from the Ledger Enquirer newspaper. They had problems with chlorine levels, but we're doing that ourselves, so that maybe is not an issue. And they had a problem with temperature of the water. But they did have other problems, numerous problems, the article reports, with lifeguards, and some of the instructors were not certified. So that's why I'm bringing up that caution. I think I did check with the Red Cross, and they didn't show, now I could have somebody's different name or different company, but they didn't show any certifications for managers, as this article pointed out. And then it took 90 days for the city to get out of that contract because they weren't happy, and so there was a 90-day grace period where they continued paying, but essentially the city ended up taking over the operations even though they continued to pay. I don't know what we have in our contract, but I would hope there'd be something in there that says if there is a problem, that we have an immediate exit provision.
If they were fulfilling the scope of the agreement, then there is a portion for the city to be able to put them on notice to correct, and then if not, then we can leave.
Okay, but we're going to have to continue to pay them.
Not necessarily. I'd have to
Well,
let the
yes-
city
yes or
attorney
no.
kind
I
of
think
speak to
city
that.
attorney-
But I will
usually
say
our contracts are pretty good that way. So
I will say that I did talk to the city of Bell, city of Huntington Park, Stockton, and the only negative feedback I got on the company out of Stockton was that they had they were using them for their water quality, and it was obvious to them that they were subcontracting the work out to a local pool person.
Okay.
And they weren't real satisfied, but they did say that the company was very responsive. The problem was is they were limited with the available subcontractors that they were dealing with. So
If I can continue, Mr. Mayor? Thank you. So, and, you know, I talked to City of Bell also, and I think they're getting ready to renew the contract with you this year. They said they did have some problems because of a late start, but they were gonna give the company the benefit of the doubt. They had some issues with lifeguards and some other concerns there, so, you know, we've got a similar situation here going, and I think I didn't talk to Huntington Park, but I think you're gonna get the contract in Huntington Park as well. In Winston-Salem, also city had pool management parted ways, and there's issues here with them as well. And those issues, you go through here and you can see I've marked up what was of concern as expressed in the article, and it specifically mentions USA Pools. And again, the issue was lifeguard pay. And it seemed the situation there is that lifeguards were being treated as independent contractors rather than on the payroll. And that a lifeguard who is required to show up at a specific set time can't be on as an independent contractor. They have to be on the payroll. And you have to have some trust that we're gonna make sure there's workers' comp insurance and that these are not, some of them were paid with debit cards. And the employees, to get the payment on the debit card, would incur the $4 fee to go to ATM, so that was being taken. They weren't making a lot of money, so $4 is considerable amount of money. So, you know, it said that the director of the program there said that he was concerned about the lifeguards' employment status when some of them indicated they had been hired as contract workers, and the concern from the attorney in that city was that the city may become liable for any labor violations that could arise. That's from their city attorney. So anyhow, there's that concern there. And then if you go through and you look on the, there's actually somebody who posted the exact same thing, a lifeguard for the Better Business Bureau. And they said, you know, I wasn't compensated for my last 2 weeks. They were making me use debit cards and paying me as an independent contractor. I never got paid for the last 2 weeks. So, and I understand a big company all over the country is going to have, you know, not everything's going to go smooth all the time. You're going to have some complaints, and it's easier to get the complaints than to otherwise. But so those are coming up. That's a couple other places. Now, you are USA Pools of California, correct?
That is correct.
And so looking through that and going to your website, you have 2 locations, one in Los Angeles and one in San Francisco?
That is correct.
And the one in Los Angeles, I guess, would serve us, and that's it. 1976 South La Cienega Boulevard, Suite 277?
I don't have that currently, but if that's what it says, yes, sir.
Okay. So my concern is, it wasn't all that long ago that we had somebody else that offered up that they were at a suite, and their suite turned out to be a P.O. box at a post office store. And so this is your suite in Los Angeles, and it is mailboxes, shipping, etc. And I called them up there, and they wouldn't tell me who had the box until I told them, is this the address? So I reached them. And so your suite, what you're referring to as a suite, is actually, in fact, a post office box. And it's the same thing at your address in San Francisco. That's also a mailbox. So sounds nice. You have a suite. That sounds impressive. During the Health and Wellness Music Festival deal, we also had a guy who said he had a suite. Turns out he was living on a boat in Marina del Rey, and the suite was the P.O. box that served the harbor. So finally, I go look at the Yelp ratings. I wanted to look you up in the Yelp ratings. And I got 3 negative reviews. Again, these are from lifeguards posting here that they weren't paid, the issue over the pay, or they were being treated as contract lifeguards. One person said, I won't read it here, but one person said, do not use, and a few other harsh words. And so that was Yelp. And there's only 3 negative reviews that show up, but then there's 11 positive reviews. And if you're familiar with Yelp, if they determine it's a genuine positive review, they'll let the review stand and you give it a rating. But if they think somebody's slamming their ratings, they give it what they call a not currently recommended review. So you've got 11 positive reviews, but it appears to Yelp that those are people that are either associated with the company, friendly to the company, friends, neighbors, know the owners, going in here and saying, you know, a friend, this is the most wonderful company in the world, they're great, they're fabulous. And so I'm a little concerned here because I just like to find out who's who when something coming before me to approve and expect people to do this kind of due diligence, and it's a mixed bag. You got some people who have had problems in which we can mitigate here as long as our staff is aware of these now and make sure that lifeguards are paid. But I also got things where purposely deceiving, in my view, us by saying that, one, you're doing business with a city that you're not. You're referencing a P.O. box as a suite, which sounds important, but it's not. It's just a simple P.O. box at one of the UPS-type stores. And then you're slamming the Yelp reviews as a company. And then there's all kinds of reviews all over the internet that are less than glowing. So I don't know what to do on this one. It's short notice. We got a pool that needs to get opened. But I think if you go through a normal, long process, these type of things, you have a chance to ferret out. And I spend a little bit of time digging, and that's what I found. So it concerns me, and I'm not sure I can support your company on this. I don't know where the rest of the council is going to go, and if that means we have a pool that's not opened, maybe we got to go in eyes wide open and make sure staff does their job to make sure these problems don't hit. And I've taken a lot of time here. That's what I found. I think this should have gone out for another proposal. I don't know. The only other thing I have now is fees typically at the pools had gone to the city. And you need to use those fees to augment your bid. And it's like $5,000 or $6,000 I think you collect on the fees over the summer, which is nothing. And I agree with Councilmember McKee that the fees should just be reduced to $1 per family and leave it at that. We're spending $500,000 on this pool. We can certainly handle the rest of this. And I would love to see that in a motion. And then hopefully in a motion, we'll make sure there's Red Cross certifications, workers' comp. The fees will be reduced to $1 per family. The lifeguards will not be under contract. That workers' comp insurance will be had. And then, one more thing. You've got timekeeping using GPS, what I presume is dependent on Wi-Fi, but there is no Wi-Fi at that pool. So either staff is going to have to install the Wi-Fi, or you're going to have to figure out you're going to do it off the air. Just let you know that. Okay, that's all I have right now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, so I know there was a lot of questions there. I want to give you time to answer those questions. If you remember all of them, please feel free to take your time and answer those.
The hiring process.
Well, the hiring process is pretty simple. I mean, we're at you both agree, the group agrees that we're late behind the ball here, but we're going to get in here and put boots on the ground and get hiring. We've done some advertising, we've done some recruiting already to bring on some qualified team members so that we can get this pool open by Memorial Day weekend. Also, to speak on the lifeguard certification, I am a Red Cross lifeguard instructor. So I make sure that anyone that's going to be lifeguarding on our team, especially we have an agreement that says we have to provide certified lifeguards. Not only do we make sure that before anyone sets foot on the deck that their certifications are up to date, but we also verify that they're up to date. With our software system you had mentioned earlier, it's called Go Aquatics. We partner with them. It's a software app. It allows us to, once a person gets here to work, they can clock in via their phone with the app. Two things happen. One, it lets us know that we do have a individual here at work. And two, that if anything ever happens, if they leave, we get an email. Also, whoever is going to be our liaison for the facility will get an email. So we try to be as transparent as possible with that, with our Go Aquatics. Now, to jump back a little bit on some of the items that you had mentioned, these are some clients that we have served. This is a list of them. The city of Winston-Salem, just to jump back on that, came to us at a late ball game too as well. But everyone there was certified. But I guess what was alluded to in that conversation that you had with either their mayor or their pool person staff is that we trained the teams out there. Some came to us already certified from previously, but what was failed to mention to you is that we put a program into place, got people working, started Memorial Day weekend, and Memorial Day weekend went, June went, and they didn't pay us. So while we continued to pay the staff anyway, there was a couple of days late that we did have to pay them, but this is a pretty simple process. We sign an agreement with you, and we put people on place on the deck there, and for that, we make payments. We use your funds that you pay us to pay our team members, to advertise, recruit, insurance, all of those things. So when there's a payment problem, it causes issues. So that's a little bit, I'll speak to that. As far as debit cards, I don't understand what that is. We try to, from a payment standpoint, we try to get rid of paper. We direct deposit with whoever we hire. We put people through our payment, through our onboarding process, and then we use direct deposit. We have a payroll company that handles all of that. Their hours are calculated, goes directly to the payroll company, and then our paydays are Mondays. And for some of those kids that are lucky enough, some of them get paid on Friday or direct deposit on Friday or Saturday. So
in your brochure here, you have 50 cities or counties listed. Was that the only one that you're not serving anymore? The rest of them you are serving?
Well, it says, and I know that this says proudly service. This should say, to some extent, we have served in some capacity all these cities on here.
Okay.
Whether it be from a construction standpoint or lifeguarding standpoint or maintenance. So we have served those.
Can you address the addressing issue?
Yes, on the addressing issue, there are P.O. boxes, both of them there. And the issue, there's not an issue there. There's just something pretty simple that when you go into a city, for bid purposes or any other purposes, to have a local address, it works.
You have a physical address in California?
Not currently.
Okay.
Where's your corporate office?
Corporate office is in Georgia.
That's where your main office is?
That's where the corporate main office is, yes, sir. However, we do tend to have a full-time manager here. That is our plan to hire for here to make this work.
Where do you work out of?
Where do I work out of? I travel, but my corporate office is in Georgia.
Copy.
I do travel them.
Did that answer all your questions, Mr. Bett?
I'm good.
Okay.
Could you speak about the swim program as far as competition?
I'm sorry.
I asked questions about competitive swim team things.
Okay. Now, on the competitive swimming, it is a great thing for the community, and you have a beautiful facility here, and for it not to be used for some of those avenues, it's crazy. But from a recruitment standpoint, one of the things that we would like to do is you come in and you do a survey, you do an analysis of what's around. And if you don't currently have a swim team, it'd be a great idea to have a swim team for this facility. You've got the setup for it. You've got the starting blocks for it. Then it would be incumbent upon us to start recruiting from the local high schools. John and I talked about this earlier prior to you even mentioning this, that I would like to, one of the things I would do is start speaking with the elementary school teachers, middle school teachers, and high school teachers, so that those that are on summer break and would like something else to do other than teach during the summer, there's an opportunity there for them to guard, also the coach as well. And then there's another program just above the swim team. It's called a master's program, and that is for people of adult men, women that would like to get to do workouts. And it's a master's program. It's a swim team program as well.
We have 2 swim programs in our community. We used to. We have one at the high school that utilizes the pool for competition. And then we have Ready Set Swim that used to work with the Boys and Girls Club before we switched over to the rec club. I don't know if that's going to be brought back in the future, but those are. Yeah, so we'd love to see those programs continue.
Well,
That's, I think, a desert healthcare program.
Right. Oh, great.
Well, the goal here is to partner with you guys for a long-standing partnership, and we'll dive right into the community and start working with the community to develop these programs, develop the swim lessons, develop aqua Zumba. I also mentioned too kayaking as well, aqua kayaking. While it's something different, it's a program. Some things that people would like to do, and once you introduce those things, and try to get the community involved as much as you can here to start increasing the use out at the facility.
You separate the kayaks and swimmers, I would assume.
Ms. Zavala, you had some questions?
I'm going to make a motion if they're ready.
Any more questions for this program?
I'd like to also ask the city attorney to speak to the issue of if the company is not performing per the scope of the work here.
So if there's non-performance, Section 22, there's a termination clause. Part of the termination specifically says the agreement may be terminated by the city in the city's sole and absolute discretion immediately upon written notice to licensee if the city determines licensee to be in violation of any terms of the agreement or any of the rules and regulations that govern the pool.
All right, Ms. Zavala, all yours.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this agreement with a restructuring of the entrance fee to 25 cents per kid, 50 cents per adult if coming in individually, or if not, $1 per family. And then also to include the swimming lessons also being provided in the late afternoons. And just in general, more like thinking about like accessibility of the other programs that you're thinking of, being accessible in the afternoons / evenings.
There's a motion on the table. Wait for it to come up on the screen. Is there a second? Yes.
So on the other issue, so on the other issue, staff is, it didn't surprise me that that clause was in our contract. Our city attorney does those things very well. And on the rest of these concerns, staff's going to watch this very closely. Well, just wanted to hear it, so.
Anybody else have any comments? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the community.
Thank you for your time.
Item number 6 is a resolution of intention for placing Desert Valley Disposal annual billing for the services of residential properties on the county tax rolls fiscal year 2018-19. Our Finance Director, Linda Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor Manis, City Council members. Before you this evening is the first step in 3 to begin the process of placing the residential billings for solid waste refuse services on the county property tax roll per the city's franchise agreement, which was dated July 2014. All costs associated with the annual levy are paid by Desert Valley Disposal. The estimated levy has a total of 7,315 accounts, totaling $2,237,219 for the fiscal year 18-19. If this is approved, the public hearing will be set for June 5th, 2018. Therefore, staff is recommending that you adopt the resolution of the City Council declaring the intention to levy annual billings for Desert Valley Disposal solid waste services for residential property on the county tax roll for 18-19.
All right, do you have anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Second call? Final call? Close public comments. Councilmember McKee.
I just want to say what we say every year is we appreciate Desert Valley Disposal and what they've helped in the past for us. They're one of the true heroes as far as businesses in our community, and as long as I'm on the council, at least for the next few months, I will totally support this. Move staff recommendation.
Motion. And a second. Anybody else like to speak to this item? I see none. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item number 7 is the application for this installation of public art, a Veterans Corner monument for the Vet Leaf Cultivation Project. Who's handling this? Scott?
Thank you. The owner of the Vets Leaf Cultivation Project has requested approval of installation of a Veterans Corner monument, what they're calling their own public art, in lieu of payment into the city's Art and Public Places program. Project is located at the southwest corner of Cabot Road and San Jacinto Lane in the light industrial district. The proposed location on the site is on the northeast corner of the project site, facing the intersection of San Jacinto and Cabot Road. There's a site plan there. Here is a picture taken a couple weeks ago showing the current site conditions. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is an artist's rendition of the corner monument. As you can see, there are 5 flagpoles. The one flying the flag of the United States of America is 35 feet tall. The 4 remaining flagpoles will fly the Marine Corps flag, the POW MIA flag, the state of California flag, and then a Vets Leaf insignia flag. Behind that, actually, let's go back one. Behind that, actually in front of that, is on the mounted on the wrought iron are 4 plaques, approximately 18 inches by 40 inches, one commemorating the city of Desert Hot Springs, and then my understanding is the remaining 3 are for local fallen heroes. Behind that, there is a concrete pedestal for the flags. They're going to display all 5 seals of each of the armed forces, and Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. The project, this corner monument also includes some LED uplighting and the landscaping as well. Next slide, please. This is an example of the design of some of the plaques. You can continue on, please. Here's a definition of public art. Staff feels that this does meet as far as a creative artistic statement, at least a portion of it. The perimeter fencing and landscaping would be required regardless as part of the project, but as far as the flagpoles, the flags, the plaques, the uplighting, it seems reasonable under the definition here for public art. Next slide, please. Total breakdown of the costs run about $46,000, just over. As you can see on the left, probably the top 4 would be specific to some of the items that I just mentioned as far as the flagpole, the concrete, some of the materials. Some of those those total, I think, upwards of $27,000, just those items. The total breakdown's over $46,000. If the project did not propose their own public art, they would be subject to the fees just over $20,000. I've got $20,751 at the time of issuance of building permit. Slide, please. With that, this is a recommendation from the Community and Cultural Affairs Commission to the City Council for approval of the proposed public art, the Veterans Corner Monument, for the Vets Leaf Cultivation Project located on the southwest corner of Cabot Road and San Jacinto Lane in the Light Industrial District, APN 665-030-037. That concludes staff's report, but we do have representatives here that can speak more to the monument, and I believe they may want to. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open it up to public comments now. Anybody would like to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mike Picardi. I am the chair of this Community and Cultural Affairs Commission, and I'm the only negative vote that was voted on this project. I have some major concerns about this, and I advise the council to maybe take a moment and think about this. First of all, as was just stated, what the art in public places defines is an artist. I would like to know who the artist is that designed this. It looks to me like it's an architectural installation. Second, I do not believe that this fits the parameter of art, as it is a series of flags, and it's not, I've said it doesn't fit the definition of art. Third, I do not believe that this is public art because it is on private property. The installation is behind the fence that you need. It's on private property, fenced with security controlled, does not meet the requirements of the ordinance of being public. I understand the flags are going to be able to be seen from all over the valley, or all over the city, but folks won't know what they are. They'll just know it's flags. Again, I don't believe flags is art. Let's see, what's my last comment here? There was a mention that one of the flags would be the Marine Corps flag. I don't know why that's being singled out, and the other ones are not being. My proposal to the council, I would like you to consider taking this installation and working with the developer and having it installed at Veterans Park. They keep calling this a monument, which to me means it's not a piece of art, it is a monument to the veterans. My other concern is if and when the building sells. I was at the CVCAN convention, and 60 to 80% of facility marijuana startups go out of business in the first year. Someone buys this building, may not be as patriotic as the folks that are asking to install this, can tear this down because it's on private property. If it was on public property at Veterans Park, it would be public, it would be maintained by the city, it would always be there. So I really question, number one, like I said, if this is in fact art. If the council decides it is, I would, I don't want to say beg, but I would plead with you to look at changing the location so it is open to the public, and getting rid of the worry that if this building is ever sold, this can be torn down, and the art in public places, which I don't believe it is, will be gone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next public speaker.
Greta Carter, Desert Hot Springs. And I've also had the privilege of working with the VetsLeaf team, and specifically Tony Rivera, who was the visionary behind this piece of art. I respect the previous speaker's comments, but I also disagree with them, and would like to address a couple of them. First off, if you do look up and just Google art, it clearly says the expression or application of human creative skills and imagination, producing work appreciated primarily for the beauty or the emotional power. And the emotional power that Tony Rivera put into the hours of detail that he went in to researching, whether it was the size of the flags or the flags he wanted to put up, or it was the wording and the phrases that went on to the monument or onto the plaques themselves, and whether the quality of the plaques would meet his standard. Who would have ever thought that this generous person who gave so much to Desert Hot Springs would actually be building a memorial that he would become part of as he died in the process of, before he could see this actually be implemented. So there's a human factor to this. And then as a relevant, I think what's really important to understand too, when you talk about in the public eye, as you all know, we have had national coverage on the light industrial area that has been over 15 million people saw, and they honed in on the cannabis cultivation side. So I think people are going to see more of that being, for right now anyway, the vision of Desert Hot Springs. So I implore you to please pass this and let it become a legacy item for Tony.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Ryan Fingerhead. I work with High Road Consulting Group, and I'm here representing the applicant Vetsleaf Inc. I'm here to address, some of the issues that were just brought up, as well as just to speak generally about this. First, to speak generally about this, the arts in public places. I know there are a lot of people who've simply donated money to the city when it comes to this type of thing. They were just meeting their obligation, checking a box. Vetsleaf's founder took it upon himself to design a piece of real art, something that spoke to him, spoke to the community about who and what he was, spent a lot of time going out of his way above and beyond, as you saw the amount, well over the amount of money that was required. For one thing, it was mentioned that landscaping maybe shouldn't be counted. I would argue against differently, because the landscaping that's going to be done for this project is much more extensive than what would have been there if it was just a gate. Further, I'd like to address some of the comments that were spoken about. First, public places. The ordinance is pretty explicit that you're allowed to take a piece of artwork and put it on your own property. So to then retroactively kind of try to change that after somebody spent a great deal of money and effort to design something for their property. Further, what the ordinance does say is not that it has to be on public land, but that it has to be freely accessible. We argue that this piece of art is definitely freely accessible. It's all right there for anybody who wishes to come and view it. If they see the flags from afar and want to know what that is, then they come out and they can see this beautiful piece of art, read the plaques, the same way they would if it was in a park or something like that. And we also argue that it's beneficial to beautify different parts of the city than just parks. People who go to work still want to see beautiful things. They want to go out and have their lunch and maybe look at a piece of artwork on their break. Next, as far as whether or not this is art, the way that the city defines art is an original creation and designed by a professional visual artist. This is an original creation. First, I would argue that flags in and of themselves are pieces of art. They're something that was designed by somebody to express something and to speak to the human factor. And so this is a piece of art, partially of which is made up of other pieces of art, but there are plenty of examples of pictures that incorporate other pieces of art in them. Second, I would argue against the idea that the Sistine Chapel or Notre Dame, or just because it's a structure or a monument also, that it can't be art. Architecture, I believe, is pretty well established as you can create art through architecture, through the creation of the monument. I mean, the Statue of Liberty is art and it's a monument. Further, I would just like to say that there are multiple pieces of this that are original. The creation and the juxtaposition are original.
3 minutes.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to this item?
Hi, my name is Simone Sandoval, and I work with High Road representing Vetsleaf. I would just like to say that this art piece is unique to Vetsleaf and deeply personal. It tells the story, if you don't know, they're a veteran-owned company, and it tells the story of how they met in 29 Palms, trained together, served together, waited for the vote for Prop 64, celebrated that together, and then they're preparing for their first harvest. Along the way, they had a lot of successes, and they lost brothers in arms. So three of those plaques on the wall is going to represent Tony Rivera, Billy Rose, and John Weston. That's why it's art. It's personal to them. It's a symbol to what they've gone through, and they want to share that with everybody in the community. And as the ordinance is written, I believe that they've satisfied everything. Also, they singled out the Marine Corps flag because they trained as Marines. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to this item? James? State your name and your 3 minutes begins.
James Velasquez, Supervisor of Vetsleaf. This is Tony's dream. This is my dream.
Come closer so that we can get you.
If this isn't art, if I need to go on that corner and sing just to make this man's dream come true, I will. I'll go on that corner every single day and play my guitar just to make it art. I'll make sure that this dream doesn't die. This company will not be sold. We're not a money-based company. We have a mission, and it's simple: to bring good medicine to our veterans, to bring good medicine to the world. And we just want to tell our story through these plaques, through the flags that are there. It may not look like art to some, but you know what? That's what artists say when you don't have the right perspective. So take a look at it from the right perspective. Take a look at all the hard work that we've done. And we want to open it up to the people. So that way when someone comes through and they see this beautiful monument, when they see the flags, when they see the work that's behind there. Now, if the fence is the issue, we'll move the fence. We'll make it so that it's accessible to the public. We just want to tell our story. We want to show this piece of art.
Thank you very much. Any other public speakers? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. Mr. McKee?
Thank you. As a veteran of the Navy, I think you're going to have some issues here. So let me just warn you. I think it's a memorial. I don't think it's a work of art. And using the definition that Greta used, I used to build food processing equipment as an engineer. That's art then, I guess, if you use the definition that you used. I think that Mike's idea to move it to the veterans area is actually a good one, because it then allows people to not only see it on a daily basis, but when we have the Memorial Day and Veterans Day celebrations, it's there. So I don't think that that's a bad thing. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the other stuff. Flags were originally created as signaling devices in the military. That's what they were created for. They weren't created as art at all. They've become symbolic as far as the way we look at them, but to say that flags are art in themselves, I don't think is true really when it comes down to it. I don't think historically it's true. I don't think that now it's true. I think one of the problems here we have is we need to modify the ordinance to basically say that in the industrial area, we're going to require payment rather than art installed on the facilities, because an access doesn't become an issue as far as I'm concerned. I think that's about it as far as what I feel.
Mr. Betts?
First is, I'm supporting the Community Cultural Affairs Commissions. I appreciate Mike Bacardi's comments, but until the CCAC really messes up, I think they gotta have the latitude to decide and judge for us what the art is. And, you know, I can see that this might look a little bit like landscaping, but I'm just not willing to say that this is not art. I'll go with that one. And especially given some of the circumstances around this, I do have some concerns about this versus this. Can we get those two pictures up, the two renderings? The current view versus the artist rendering? And I don't see how you're gonna pull this one off, because you got a wrought iron fence that looks like it's 8 foot tall at least, and then a decidedly different design on a fence that is 6 foot tall. And if you look at the drawing that was supplied, it doesn't look at anything like what the rendering is. And if you go take those plaques and put it on the other picture, the one that shows, that's in the packet, what page number, I don't know. Yeah, that one. I'm taking your word for it, actually. Yeah, it'd be 347. Do you have packet page 347? If you don't, but anyhow, if you look here, you just got 4 plaques on that. The fence doesn't seem suitable for the honor and the presence that you're trying to get out of these 4 plaques. It's just gonna look like you went and tacked 4 really nice plaques onto a fence. Now, maybe there's plans to change that. Is that what staff is recommending? Because whatever the rendering was at the beginning didn't end up being the construction plan when it went through. Somebody didn't construct this wrought iron fence to match what the rendering is showing. Can you put the rendering back? So,
Like the applicant to answer.
so I'm just, well, staff can answer. I'm just wondering what the heck's going on with that. And so you got it back behind the fence, the plaques are on the fence, and then I don't know what this is showing on this drawing. It's showing, is that the plan, or it just doesn't look anything the same? It just gonna look, it's not gonna look right.
Tajer?
Okay, so question, it is, the flagpoles are behind the fence, and they are gonna use the existing fence, and the plaques will be mounted to that wrought iron.
Okay, so that wrought iron, to me, first off, it's stepped following the elevation. It's not all at the same height. Architecturally speaking, artistically speaking, it doesn't work. And somebody's gonna go in there and upgrade that fence or change that fence or do something, but I can't believe that the people who are gonna do this in, honor of Tony and everything are just gonna go take some plaques and stick them on that fence. It's not gonna look right. It's just gonna look bad. And there's nowhere for the landscaping. You already got landscaping in. You only got, what, 6, 8 inches between the fence and the poured concrete, so you're certainly not gonna get this whole look that's envisioned in the rendering. You're not, it's not gonna happen. It's just not there. Also, on a side note, while we're trying to beautify our industrial area, if anybody's noticed along that road, what road is that runs
Cabot.
north-south, Cabot? There is a ton of litter and debris that's been there for a long, long time, and at the same time, we're trying to beautify our industrial area. So could I get staff to meet me out there with a truck? And if I got to myself, I'll go pick up that debris or get a volunteer crew. But we got to get that cleaned up because it is just, we got people coming in from all over the world, all over the state, all over the country to look at our industrial park, and to have them looking at that. And when we're talking about this, there's just a real disconnect there for me. And we got to get that cleaned up. So if,
Don't have a specific question for you yet. Okay.
so.
Councilmember has an
You want me to think of a question?
I'm just asking if
Okay, I'm ready
she
for a
was
question.
gonna ask a
I'm ready.
answer your
I'll
question. Did you want to
accept
ask
your
a
guidance.
question?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a question. So
Okay.
what are you gonna do about
Please step forward.
the fence and the disconnect between the rendering and what's actually been constructed?
So the difference between...
Let everybody know who you are.
Oh, sorry, Sandra Silvateo, one of the owners of Vetzleaf, also a Marine Corps veteran. So the rendering is different than the current picture, the iron fence. The difference is that the rendering has the curve on the iron fence, and the iron fence that we put up does not have the curve where you got the spikes coming out of there. We were told that it's better not to have those in there, just for liabilities, not to have the iron spikes on the top. And so the plaques would sit on the upper, at the eye level for the visitors that will be coming in.
Where are you gonna put the plaques?
On the iron fence at
So the
night.
plaques are gonna go on that fence?
If need be, if that needs to be changed to adjust it, that where you say that's not good enough, then we will make those changes as recommended to make sure that that is up to par with what you're asking.
I would think that you would wanna do that. Once you get a look at this, it's gonna seem obvious that that needs to be done. So I'm not gonna put it as a condition. I just leave it up to staff to make sure this thing looks proper.
And also, there was recommended to have the fence on the backside of the flagpoles. And so that's another option for us to do, to put the fence around the backside and affix the plaques in a different manner. So that can be done as well.
Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Betts?
No, thank you.
All right, I think, Ms. Parks or Ms. Zavala, you in the queue?
Oh.
Ms. Zavala's in, I'm sorry, first, and then Ms. Parks.
I have a question for you. What are your plaques made out of?
Those are out of bronze, and yeah, they're bronze.
Okay, it's just, we've had issues with the plaques at Veterans Park, so we were just wondering in terms of theft. Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to sit down now. Thank you. I would actually very much agree with Mr. Picardi here about your comments. I mean, when I first looked at it, I thought, literally, while I was reading the agenda, my note to myself was questionable, and it has nothing to do with being patriotic or not. It's just simply, if I just look at it and say, okay, if these were 5 different flags, would I consider this like a public art? Probably not. We have flags like in front of county buildings. We have flags in front of schools, and I understand. You want to honor one of the founders, and then it kind of serves more as like a memorial for founders that have passed. I really do agree with Councilmember McKee about revising our art in public places ordinance. I think what we were envisioning it may be getting a little convoluted, with like interpretations of like the developers and then what we as a city council would like to see in terms of art throughout the city and the beautification of the city, and in what locations we'd like that. So I would agree here. If you could at the very least move that fence to the back so that it is public, and maybe instead of attaching those plaques to the fence, maybe they're standalone structures mounted on like a cement block or something like that, so that it's held in, land contained. But yeah, we definitely need to bring that ordinance back.
Ms. Parks.
Yeah, I don't agree with anybody up here. First of all, our industrial area used to be just lots of weeds. You drive down Two Bunch now and Little Morongo, and you're seeing these big, beautiful buildings with beautiful landscaping and structures of art in the front. And I'm very impressed with that. And I do not think that we should eliminate art from the industrial area, because I think it enhances that area. And I believe that this is art, and it does correspond with the name of the organization, Vets Leaf. It corresponds. And I just think that dedication of this kind should be supported. Thank you. That's my comments.
Can we get the main screen back up? I'm going to make a couple comments. I want to make sure no other council members had comments here. If you could take your names out of the queue unless you're coming back in. I'm very confused by art, very confused, and that's why I don't usually make decisions and let other people make those. I made a mistake on commenting on a Facebook post years ago when someone said that they were putting up rusty pieces of metal in our community, and I made just a general comment, is that art? And people, man, went crazy because they think it is art. So I don't determine what art is. Mr. Picardi, he's my appointment to the CCAC. I agree with him halfway. I truly believe, and this is a problem that we had in our community a while back with sidewalks, is that a developer could come in and just pay a fee and not put a sidewalk in front of their home. We should have mandated everybody to put a sidewalk in front of their home. I think at this point, we should mandate everybody to put money in the public arts and let us figure what public art is. I am not going to judge your art because I like it better than some of the other stuff. So I'm supportive of it at this time. What I'm not supportive of, and what we have to decide as a city council in the future, maybe it's something the CCAC can take up since the chairman's here, is I don't think landscaping should be part of the art. That's my personal opinion. We did this with another developer in our community, and 90% of his art was landscaping, and he convinced 3 members of the council to vote for that. Maybe 4. I was against it. But I want to see art structures. I do believe flagpoles are art. It's just my opinion. Mike's going to yell at me when we're done, but he's going to try to educate me on art. No, you cannot speak no. So it's just my opinion. I'm in supportive of it at this time, but I do think we need to, as a council, as a CCAC, move forward on a consensus on what art in our community really is. And do we want to put money into a fund that can pay for art in public places? Do we want to include landscaping in the art public places? I do agree if we're going to make it public, I would like to see the fence move so people can walk around it if they do decide to come in there. And I do worry a little bit about the bronze. We have had problems with that being stolen in our community, so I would suggest maybe a less expensive material that if they stole it, they would think, oh, because last thing you want to see is a bronze statue or bronze placard of a veteran on there and it's gone, and it's going to cost you money to replace that. So those are my opinions at this point. I see Mr. Betts is back in the queue.
Can I make a motion?
I don't have any Betts in the queue, so please feel free.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion approving this art in public places with the provision that the fence be upgraded and in a manner that will be more fitting of the art that's to be placed on it, and that there'll be some realignment of the fence to provide more of a walking, what do you want to call it?
Walking.
Accessibility to the public,
Very professional. Thank you.
a more walkable area that's more fitting than just tacking it on and that's Gerald, did you get all that in that motion? What about the bronze? The bronze is gonna be their baby to worry about. They're gonna have to replace it. And I forgot to put a comment in before I made this motion, so I'll slip it in. I agree with you 100%. The art needs to be in the industrial area, so I just want on record, I agree 100% with Mayor Parks, or former Mayor Parks, Councilwoman Parks.
Well, once you're a mayor, you're always a mayor, right?
Yeah,
What's the president always the president?
that's right.
All right, do we got everything encompassed on there, Mr. Betts?
Yeah.
All right, make your motion. Is there a second? No other comments, please vote.
No.
Motion passes with Councilmember McKee opposed.
All right, item number 8 is a process to fill council member vacancy created by the resignation of Councilmember Yvonne Parks. Our city clerk will lead this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So with the resignation of Councilmember Parks and pending vacancy, the California Government Code sets forth options for the council to consider to fill the vacancy for the unexpired term of office, which ends in December 2018. So the Government Code sets forth the following two options: either call a special election to fill the vacancy, which verbatim says shall be held on the next regularly established election date not less than 114 days from the call of a special election, or provides the council 60 days to appoint someone to fill the vacancy from the effective date of the resignation. So with that being said, the option to call a special election just isn't possible because legally we can't, there's no established election dates between now and November, and we can't legally or possibly hold an election. With that being said, the only option that the council has is to appoint someone to the position. I've also conferred with the city attorney, and she and her office have confirmed that there is no option to leave the office vacant.
So would it be proper to say that obviously our one option is to appoint, so would we take applications for the 30 days and then appoint within, because we've already, she made the resignation the last meeting. If we took applications for 30 days, that would allow us one meeting in the 60-day process to then appoint, correct?
That is correct. So as far as the process to appoint someone, that's pretty much at the council's discretion. The council can choose to either put forth an application process, an interview, or just appoint someone without going through that process. If the council chooses to set forth an application process, staff would recommend that at this meeting that they open the application period starting, I know the staff report says May 2nd, but if I could request that be May 3rd, so that would give me time to put everything together. and have the application run through May 28th. Just like running for office, to be eligible to be considered, applicants need to be 18 years of age or older, resident of the city, a registered voter of the city, and not on parole or serving time for a felony conviction. My office would then issue a press release and get the word out that there is a vacancy on the council and what the process is to apply. Interested candidates would have until Monday, May 28th to submit their applications to my office. Then we would, the city council would then interview if the council chooses to do so, or appoint at the June 5th council meeting. I've also provided a sample application in your packet for your consideration. With all that being said, I recommend that you consider an appointment process and finally adopt a resolution of the City Council to appoint a citizen to fill the office of the City Council member vacated by the resignation of Councilmember Yvonne Parks and waiving the option of a special election. That concludes my staff report.
All right, open up for discussion. Mr. Betts, you're first in the queue.
Okay,
I'm sorry, hold on. Let me do public comments real quick. Anybody would like to speak on public comments? I see. You're so shy, though.
Mike McCarty again. I would just like to advise the council to move on this as quickly as possible and make this so it gets expedited so Ms. Parks can be feeling better physically. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to this item? All right, we'll close public comments. Mr. Betts.
Okay, as I look to my right, I see Councilwoman Parks, who has not yet vacated her seat. And thereby, while she's put some conditions on her resignation, those conditions haven't been met yet, so there really has been, at this time, no resignation. So just like, was down there at CVAG with a 90-day clock that somebody arbitrarily set based on some false procedure, we got a 60-day clock being set here. And my take is until that seat is vacated and we're without a council member in that seat, the 60-day clock has not started running, so the council is not obligated under any of that time frame that was spelled out in the staff report. And as much as Yvonne and I have had our moments, I very much have enjoyed serving with her, and it would be my preference that she would just continue, if possible, serve out her term. But if she's not able to do that, my comments are that we're not under that 60-day clock as laid out. And
Mr. McKee.
May have other comments after.
Well, my feeling is I agree that the time period for opening it up is long and not necessary. I think the other thing that we should keep in mind is if we were to appoint someone with no experience, it would take them a couple, 3 months even to come up to speed. So my suggestion would be that we make a list of all people in the city that have city council experience and then pick someone from that list.
Ms. Zavala.
I was actually speaking with Chuck over the phone, and I was actually saying the same thing. We should get applicants that have served on the council because they've actually been voted in before. So it's not like we're arbitrarily choosing someone ourselves. It's the people that have been voted in the past. And then with that, maybe if we could also add a question in there about, how long you've been in the city. I didn't see any question like that in there.
Mr. Betts, you're back in the queue.
Yeah, just the other concern I'd have is that I would, if there's it sounds like there's a rush to a point rather than take it slower, I would be leaning towards, obviously, taking it slower. And one of the things I would look at is getting past the point in which somebody is filing for the election, because I would think one of the conditions would be that whoever is going to fill this seat not be somebody who plans or is a declared candidate in the upcoming election. And the reasoning for that is that I don't think the council as a body, while we can all go out and campaign for somebody individually ourselves, I don't think the council as a body should be providing somebody a de facto endorsement as, hi, this is the person the public should appoint, and giving somebody that appointment ahead of an election indeed does that. So now I remember before when we had the situation, Dot Reed filled in, and she made it very clear she had no intention of running. I don't think she had prior council experience, but she did very well.
She hated it.
I know she did. I talked to her plenty of times. She said, no, not me. I'll never do that again.
No,
But she did
hey,
serve the role well, and she was a placeholder until the
Yeah, we don't
voters could speak. And I guess anybody who is no longer, who was a council member before, unless they resigned, conversely could say they were voted off. So, you know, I'm not applying those criteria. I think there's lots of good people out there. I don't want to just limit it to somebody who served before. I think it would be, open it up to the entire public. I just don't agree with the notion that, I mean, all of us were new to this process at some point in time. Councilwoman Zavala, it wasn't long ago that you were new to this process, and you've turned out to be extremely bright and capable. And I think anybody else stepping up can do the same.
True, but I was voted in for a 4-year term, not 3 months.
Okay, so anyhow, I think it's a placeholder, and that's where I would be on this one.
All right, my comments are very simple. I think you should open up the application process. If we're lucky enough to get past council members and maybe some planning commissioners or other members of the community that have served on boards and commissions, and I think we're fortunate enough to be able to pick from a list, and if the council decides at that point they want experience, I think that would be the option, but that's just my opinion. But I do think the resignation has started with the letter that's been served. She's made it very clear when she's leaving. I think we're being proactive. I think the city council needs 5 members on it so that there is a odd number for votes. I think that's important to continue the business of the city moving forward, and 5 members are important. And I think all members of the community should have an opportunity to apply if they choose to. That's just my opinion. I have nobody else in the queue right now. I'll take a motion, or I'll accept a motion. Or would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to open up the application process, notwithstanding the 60-day notice that the council is not obligated to that, and putting in a provision that any candidate selected will state that they have no intention of seeking election in the next the most recent upcoming election.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second to that motion? Second call for a second. Final call for a second. Motion dies. I'll accept a new motion if someone wants to make it. I'll make a motion. I make a motion to move on an application process for 30 days to appoint at the first meeting in June for the resignation of Yvonne Parks. After the 30 days, I'm sorry, the 30 days, what was your timeline, Gerald? 30 days, application would end the 28th. The council would then have to make a decision on
June 5th.
June 5th. The only concern I have is what if the council wants to interview? Can they do that?
The council can choose to interview at that meeting and appoint at the same meeting, or interview and continue the appointment to a different date.
Do all interviews have to be done publicly, or can they be done privately?
I would defer to the city attorney.
And I'm not sure. I would have to look into that. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out meeting schedule. But I would like to see the application process open to the public for 30 days, and then the appointment done on June 5th. If the June 5th deadline doesn't work, obviously the council can move it to the following meeting if they choose to, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's my motion. Oh, sorry. I'm not used to making motions anymore, so is there a second? Second call for a second. Final call, motion dies. So at this point, is there another motion that can be made, or does someone want to continue this item?
It gets curiouser and curiouser. I thought yours was very good. Second.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint someone and to ensure they have city council experience.
How's the process of appointment go, so we can be clear to the public?
And the process of appointment would be at the next meeting, we'd appoint, well, depending, you can get back to us. If it's possible to interview one-on-one, that would be preferable. If not, then, we'll do it all in one shot.
I'm asking for clarification.
Let me see if I can get a second first on that, and then we can go to clarification. There is a motion, a second, Mr. Betts.
So that's nobody who has never served on the council need apply. Is that the motion?
Only people with city council experience.
Okay, so we're ruling out a whole bunch of people.
All right, there is a motion, and a second. Any more discussion? All right, please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
All right, item number 9 is the cancel hearing and abandonment the proceedings to annex and access to 259 homes commonly known as Rancho del Oro to the City of Desert Hot Springs Landscape Lighting Maintenance District Number 2. Mr. Betts?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have homes in the Rancho del Oro subdivision, and so I am affected by this action financially, so I will recuse.
Thank you. Once Mr. Betts is off the dais, Mr. Porras, it's all yours.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes?
I messed up. I wasn't supposed to vote on that last. I'm supposed to abstain.
It was electronic error.
Can you record that on the last vote that Ms. Parks would like to abstain? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Porras?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This item is regarding canceling the hearing and abandoning the proceedings for the annexation for Rancho del Oro. Rancho del Oro subdivision is located in Mission Lakes between Sonora Drive and West Drive, just south of Avenida Jalisco. The subdivision was built in 92-93. There were 259 homes that were constructed, and majority of the perimeter landscaping was installed. However, during that time, there was no provisions that were established for the ongoing maintenance cost and expenses for the perimeter landscaping. In the interest of keeping the landscaping alive and viable, the city has been paying for the ongoing maintenance costs of the landscape along the perimeter. City staff has worked with Rancho del Oro residents for the last few years to help establish a permanent solution and to fund the landscape maintenance district. In 2017, the City Council held all the required public meetings and public hearings and initiated the first annexation process into the district. However, ultimately, the district failed. The annexation into the district failed due to the higher number of residents voting no. Subsequently, the city received 93 petitions, or a petition with 93 other property owners from Rancho del Oro subdivision requesting a permanent fund for the landscaping. In response to the petition, a resolution of intention was passed where we initiated the proceedings for a second time and set the public hearing date for April 3rd, 2018. Since then, that date was then postponed to May 15, 2018, and it has now come to the city's attention that more time and outreach may be needed by the Rancho del Oro residents to strategize about a permanent funding for the landscaping. In order to provide this additional time for the residents, the city would like to cancel the public hearing and abandon the annexation proceedings in order to further analyze the annexation, the engineer's report, and the available landscape options and costs. With that, staff is recommending that the City Council, by minute order, move to cancel the public hearing for May 15th, 2018, and abandon the proceedings to annex and assess properties to Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District Number 2, Annexation Number 18, Zone 19, and to continue to maintain certain landscaping surrounding Rancho del Oro. That concludes my staff report. Glad to answer any questions.
Any public comments on this item? I see none. Mr. McKee.
Move staff recommendation.
Second.
No other comments? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, can someone call Mr. Betts back in the room? Resolution, item number 10 is a resolution amending the fiscal year 2018-19 budget to include the various list of projects to be funded by Senate Bill 1. Mr. Porras?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In April of 2017, the governor signed Senate Bill 1, or SB 1, also known as the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. SB1 will increase funds used to address road maintenance, road rehab, and critical safety needs on both state highway, bridges, and local roads, local road and road systems. Part of the SB1 requirement, cities are required to submit to the California Transportation Commission a list of projects that we are proposing to be funded through SB1 funds. Those projects are going to receive funding and are specifically detailed as the expense that they can be expended through. The list of projects must include a description and location of each project, the proposed schedule of the project, and the useful life of the improvement for each fiscal year in which the SB1's funds are received and expended. Cities and counties also must submit documentation to the commission that includes a description of each project that is completed and the funds that were expended, the completion date, and the estimated life of improvements. Based on the State Department of Finance for fiscal year 18-19, it is estimated the city of Desert Hot Springs will receive $483,419 of SB1 funds. Based on that projection, staff reviewed our capital improvement program and our fiscal year budget for 2018-19 and has recommending to use a various amount of funds for 4 different projects. Those 4 projects include the Palm Drive traffic signal and streetlight project, which will use $320,000 of SB1 funds. The Desert View Sidewalk project, which would use $100,000 of SB1 funds. The restriping of Mission Lakes Boulevard and Two Bunch Palms Trail, which would use $30,000. And the 2018-2019 citywide asphalt grind overlay slurry and road construction project, which would use $33,419. If approved, that whole total would be $483,419 to be funded through SB1 RMA funds. Part of the requirement is that the city council adopt a resolution, and we submit the resolution to the California Transportation Commission along with the list of projects. We have already submitted the list of projects, and a draft resolution is attached. With that, staff recommend adopt a resolution of the city council amending the budget of the fiscal year 2018-2019 to incorporate the various list of projects to be funded by Senate Bill 1, SB1, road maintenance rehabilitation account, RMA funds, with an estimated amount of $483,419. That concludes my staff report. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor, before we go on, I gotta find out if I have a cause for recusal. I see Mission Lakes Boulevard, and I'm probably within 500 feet of Mission Lakes Boulevard. Is this something that's I need to recuse on?
No, this is a it's a citywide, isn't it? Yeah. So this is a citywide program, probably affecting everybody in the city equally. So even if you did have a conflict with, I don't even see it, you probably fall under the public generally exception, anyways.
Okay, and so I'm going to rely on that advice and stay here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any public would like to speak to this item? I see none. We'll close public comments. Mr. McKee.
And just a quick comment, I'm amazed that considering this is a gas tax that we've come up with a figure that's $483,000, 419. If we hit that, I think you deserve a bonus. Move staff recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm not sure if Chuck heard that, though.
It's a motion and a second. Please vote.
I was going to suggest you get more money, but I mean more of an award.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. The consent calendar has been approved. Future agenda items, you can speak to the city manager. Anybody else like to speak in public comments? Didn't speak to begin the meeting? I see none. We are adjourned.
One thing, Mr. Mayor, one thing.
Sorry, go ahead. I
I
already
just,
gavelled, but go ahead.
I just wanted to announce that the City of Desert Hot Springs 2018 Citywide General Plan Update public meetings will begin on May 30th, 2018 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Carl May Community Center here, where these flyers are going out. They'll be inviting the public to attend. Of course, this is after the meetings with the City Council, and this will provide the public the opportunity to weigh in on the general plan update.
Can you forward that to us in a PDF or
Yes, sir.
JPEG so we can?
And then can you also
No, I'm
let us
asking if you
know
could forward it
where
in
they're
JPEG
going
so
to
we can use
be
it in our
advertising
social
this?
media.
Because we want to make sure that the public's actually engaged, and I believe we talked about this last time. Like, are they going to be going to the churches, to the schools, to like let people know, parents know?
Danny, you got that?
Yes, we will. We actually have a strategic plan that we have in place, and we are meeting on Monday with the consultant to come up with a course or a quadrant where we're gonna go to all the local stores, the local communities, the schools, and try to get as much input as we possibly can. We're open to any suggestions as well, so you're welcome to email us or send us any type of ideas you might have.
Churches too.
Perfect.
All right, thank you. The meeting is now adjourned.